Community Board has had no report. On placing that in time. So we don't have that action for that. Well, only the donation rests with council. The funds of the development contribution, and of course, the management rate rests with us, but we don't have I grabbed the plans and had a look at what went to the water back in September, and the comments about a mix of seats for all ages and loads of activities for all ages. But what you're saying, I take on what you said, is that didn't actually eventually.
Due to the big combination unit that has changed, we now don't have the junior equipment. The original one in the design, there was elements in there that would all children could use. Yeah.
So with the module you're talking about, your view is that the Village Green will still be the best place for that to be located? There will be synergies from that location?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because we can purchase from the same supplier who's provided that.
I mean, about the actual location, I mean, you have other reserves like Seaton Crescent, Salgard Drive, etc., and so forth. I mean,
if you've got
to develop in future, going the view that that children's location, that side of the best place.
Definitely, because at the moment you've got seldom anything for junior children, and if you've got the cricket ground there and the kids are playing cricket, the junior ones who don't play cricket have got hardly anything there now to play on.
So with the trampoline, that got taken out to keep costs down, along with the carousel, and expect the request to come back in this financial year for help for it. With the trampoline, you've got $10,000 in ADRA, I think, and you're going to apply to RATA or lotteries for 20. I think, was that the case? Looking back at the months.
Yeah. So what?
I mean, I think you've got snowball's chance with RATA. I have to say it just doesn't match the criteria anymore. But with lotteries, have you followed through on that?
I haven't followed through with lotteries yet. The reason that the inclusive trampoline wasn't included in the original was because we felt that other external funders might have come because it was an inclusive. So I've done an NPD funding application just for 10,000 as well. When RATA was originally done, that was for the whole lot, which was like 25,000. So if you get 10,000 here and 10,000, you only ask for 10,000 from RATA, you're more likely to get money as long as you've got money already for the project.
All RATA out as I think about it, because the jump track down at least which got about 10 grand. But certainly social help is the main priority. With that also, the board has put out a funding round from the discretionary fund, and AERA was mine. It was that help as well. But I mean, I think I'm warm towards the idea of putting price up. I think it's the going and mix of all the other activities for long-term planning. In a plan for this year, set in concrete, we are in an awful financial position. So we are having to be very careful, etc. and so forth. But I would certainly think it would be valid to have a price on that, so you could give some intelligent consideration to it along with other demands. Like the other day, we had a extra $20,000 in mowing costs for your green. So we can't do it. So that's the demand we're trying to. On the warm idea of getting a price on it and the challenge. Under on the top, they said a comment, oh, under $25,000, but how valid that is. I'm warm to the idea of getting a price on it, but I think certainly I think you need to follow through on the Auction Street trend discretionary fund, which is the moment. You'll get an idea.
About a minute to go.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing, I have the reasoning is you don't get if you don't ask. So I just try one person. If you lose that, you try the next
We-
person, you
we-
try the next person. So yeah.
We recognise that.
So we have your original correspondence,
Yeah.
page 83 onwards,
Yeah.
and we will be addressing it under 83.
Yeah.
But just to summarise, the two key points you make there are the Jellicoe 101 and then the trampoline.
Yeah.
Pauline.
If I may, thank you through the chair. Thank you for the deputation and for explaining the history as well as the current situation. In requesting the $15,000 from the community board, did you have a particular budget that might come from in mind? I know that you're all over the Southport finances, and I just wondered if you had I note that you didn't mention the contestable fund, but did you have a thought?
The DC fund has a large amount of money, and the thing is, if you don't spend it, what's it for? It's for all of the residents of the South Ward, and what better chance to create something special for the
So-
South Ward, and we're in the process of doing that, so why would you not? We
Thank
use a
you.
lot of money.
So there'll be about 13.5 DC and 1,500 amenity, that'd be correct.
Okay. We're out of
No,
time.
because we've already got 10, so it would be 25. 15 is only what I'm asking.
Okay, we're out of time. Guys.
All
So
right, thank you very much.
Joe. We
Yeah.
will be looking at that later. You're most welcome to stay, but
Oh, no, I think I'll speak through
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
I'm soon through. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.
Okay. Now our next delegation is Robert Thompson. No, not here. Sorry. Robert's not here. Is he online? You're not AXF4A, Robert. Okay, so Robert did send in a letter, pages 75 through to 77, and subsequently he did ask to present through a delegation, but so we can address that later on. So we now move on to, before we move into the agenda, for any of you who have written versions, page 81 has been removed. It's not in the online version. Just page 81, and it is intentionally blank. Okay. Sorry, it's to be crossed out and removed in the written ones, and it is intentionally blank in the online ones.
So Mr. Chair, just to be point where the agenda on page 2 or something that says quorum no less than 3 members. We discussed this at the last meeting, and it was pointed out in actual fact that should be 4. I expected it would be changed. Can we get that changed to 4?
Thanks, Stephen. Now, minutes for confirmation. We received a number of small corrections from Pauline. Thank you, Pauline. So, and they were largely minor, I think.
So, Mr. Chair, they are minor, but I spoke to Mark Coulter today about what Amberley Beach Residents Association call themselves. Amberley Beach Residents, Ratepayers and Community. ABRA, capital small a large C is what they call themselves, just as a matter of interest.
Did you get that?
Small C.
You want to just repeat
Read
that?
that again.
Oh, okay, capitals ABRA, small a, large C. ABRA.
Thank you through the chair. Can I just suggest that we double check that, because I actually got that abbreviation from a letter that was sent from that particular group. So if we can just check and make sure that's correct, that would be good.
Oh, you,
I've got double R.
oh, yeah.
If we can just check it,
Okay,
that would be
okay,
fine.
cool.
I'm sure you're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Um,
Pauline.
Is it okay, through the chair, if I just question, in those, minor amendments, and they are just minor,
Yeah.
they're just references and whatnot. But page 11, I really, wonder if someone can help me here, page 11, right at the bottom. The Leafield Beach Residents Association have discussed the council's fees and charges policy regarding fee waivers for the non-profit groups, with some concern expressed about the Executive Commission's authority in that area. Can someone clarify what the Executive Commission is?
I don't think that's correct. I tried to find that.
Mr. Chair, I suspect that it's referring to the fact that there is a delegation to members of the executive team for fee waivers on district reserves.
See,
But what usually happens is that it's usually Dan's area, he doesn't exercise that delegation and it goes to the committee. So I think that is what is meant by, it's not,
Thank you.
it's the executive team's delegation.
Thank you for explaining that. It makes sense.
so
Sorry, question. Sorry.
Yeah, Kevin.
see, Leafield Beach is a bit unusual because the Leafield Beach Residents Association Committee, in terms of fees and charges, has the delegation to grant fee waivers. It's only one of the ones, the fees and charges, I think there's something in Hanmer. So they're unusual in that respect, but I'm not quite sure how to weave that into that room.
But I think the clarification that,
I mean, we
Judy,
could
let's
go
get that.
back and check
Yeah,
the,
thank you. That makes perfect
the
sense to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
we'll go
I just
back and check the.
wasn't sure what that reference was to.
Oh, that, I think that's what, but I wasn't present, so I'm
Yeah.
doing an educated guess.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so given those changes and the discussion, would somebody care to move that the minutes are approved correct report? Pauline, thank you. Seconder, Hamish, thank you. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. And Robert has arrived, and so we will actually move back into the delegations. Deputation, yeah, sorry. So Robert Thompson, we have his letter on pages 75 through 77. So Robert, if you feel to join us at the table, and you have 10 minutes of presentation and then 5 minutes of clarification questions.
Thank you very much. So look, I'm probably less likely to focus on sitting here reading my submissions. I assume that quite correctly that my friends sitting around the table will be comfortable in terms of reading that document. What I'd like to do is just probably more provide a condensed view of where I sit in terms of the desire to present my position. And so I just want to be very clear. I'm certainly not opposed to the council considering an appropriate dog exercise area for the district. Personally being a dog owner most of my life, my adult life. My submission is purely and simply focused on Grayson Plantation and the Amberley Beach Reserve, the environment, and therefore I say that the designation of the dog park in that area should be seriously considered in terms of its feasibility. In summary, my submission says that it's a small coastal settlement. It's constrained by the local roads. There's no continuous footpaths either into Amberley Beach itself There's no continuous footpaths or any footpaths within the district or within the village, as I call it. There's limited parking. Existing reserves, obviously, and the users and so forth need to be considered, that being the people who live within the area permanently and batch. It has been identified as a natural hazard, and I think those environmental considerations are important. So I say that the dog park is a destination facility. It will introduce a concentrated dog activity, additional vehicles, parking demand, fencing, waste, and ongoing maintenance obligations. And so if you look at of a perfect example, on some weekends when you're down there, it's 30 Ks. We have what I would describe as responsible golfers. It's not uncommon to see, for example, I was overtaken doing about 33 Ks. I was overtaken by a car in the 30 K zone. Someone wasn't prepared to wait behind me, and we don't see a ton of traffic, but certainly the traffic is reasonable in terms of people visiting the golf course. The roading and the natural environment doesn't facilitate a substantial environment for lots of traffic, pedestrians, and then parking. And so my opposition in the proposal should be that whether the dog park can physically be fitted into the Greason plantation, and the essential and proper question is whether Greason is demonstrably safer, more suitable, more cost effective, and more sustainable than other alternatives. And so the question is if I hear other people's positions, people say, well, if it's outside of Amberley itself, the centre, and I understand the complications of wanting to have something in town, will people drive to it? Will they not? Will they use it? Will they not? Will there be a large number of people going to it? Will there not? Those are all the unknowns. And I guess from my perspective, we don't have any information on the feasibility of it. I was aware, I am aware that there was a working group set up to look at those factors. And one of the reasons that, not the primary reason, is I started to question the transparency of that working group advocacy, and how that was being facilitated and managed in terms of whether or not we were looking at the right places, considering the right things. And I think there is a loud view that parties want a dog park, and I support the desire for that dog park. I was concerned before I came here today that, and whilst Tony Trindwell is not a member of the South Ward Committee Board, he's not a decision maker, and I certainly make no allegations of any nature, but I understand he was part of the working group for the assessment and discussions surrounding where the most suitable park would be. Before I was given an opportunity to come here today to address my submissions and the substance of my submissions, I note that Tony has put comments up on Facebook in the community group that my characterised position is an isolated personal objection, that of course he's named me personally on the page as an objector, and indicates that my views are not representative of the wider community in the beach, and that he has advocated for his group of individuals to individually campaign and contact the members of this board here today regarding my submissions, but assured them that my objections have already been addressed, already been discussed and neutralised essentially. And so I therefore simply ask the board to distinguish between, and again, not a criticism of Tony in any way, shape or form, but I simply say that the board should distinguish between advocacy for an advancement of the dog park and objective evidence to be produced by council officers and suitably qualified advisors. For example, I could sit here today and say on the local beach page, there's a small group that is opposed, there's a quieter group that's opposed, there's a loud group that is for, and a louder group that's not for. I simply don't think that either group, whether that be for the dog park or against the dog park, should be ignored. But I think that we should consider a view of impartialness around considering whether or not the right place is being presented at the right time for the right value for the group of individuals who live in that area. And there are a lot of things going on down at the beach currently that are affecting a number of people. So my only view was that I wanted to understand and make sure that council considered was there appropriate car parking to be considered for the dog park. We don't want people parking randomly in random spots to walk their dog to the dog park. I don't think it would be helpful to have a large number of vehicles transporting themselves to the area. I don't think the area is designed for large volumes of traffic. I'm not sure whether or not any evidence or information is being presented to the board to determine whether or not having those constraints around the road, footpath, limited parking, and extensive use within that area has been a proper and full consideration.
1 minute, Robert.
Thank you. So my only view here today is that the council consider those impacts before proceeding, consider whether or not the community at large would be interested in those factors in terms of the dog park, and whether or not Gresham Plantation is the right place at the right time. That's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
So, Robert, you're probably aware that the idea for the use of the grass land reserve for the dog park first arose from the Amberley Beach Residents Association submission to the reserves management plan revision about 2 years ago. Correct. Yeah. And certainly, I think you touched on it. You mentioned that there were people in Amberley Beach who voted for it. And
I think that just with all groups, you have a silent minority, silent majority. I think you have a very vocal pro and quiet pro. And so I think it's really hard. I think that when people put up an opposition to it, there is some comments that have been quite nasty on Facebook. But again, I don't think that that's realization of what people view themselves on. I don't think, it'd be lovely to be able to have, people could put in some response, through the consultation process as to whether they agreed or whether they didn't, just like we would whether we wanted to go up to relocation plans.
And one last question, you mentioned community impacts. What sort of amenity value do you think Grierson Reserve has in its present state at the moment?
I think its primary factor is the wildlife, the tranquility, the coastal environment, the coastal enjoyment. I think one of the founding values that brought me to that environment is the tranquility, is the fact that it is a village, and the vehicles either coming in or the people coming in are appreciating and valuing the area. So what I think that area brings is value through the coastal environment.
Thank you.
Any other questions or clarification? Okay, we'll call that to a close, Rolly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all your time listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. This correspondence.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to the decision items, and the proposed Grierson Plantation Dog Park is first up, and Andrew Macchia will join us to
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, board members. So this report's in response to a report that was left to lie on the table on the 10th of June board meeting, where the complexities of the process to establish a dog park at Grierson Plantation was noted, and the board requested that this report would be presented to you to help you make your decision. So just talk about a little bit about the reserves management plan. I'll take the report generally as read, and I'm happy to take questions when I've finished brief presentation. So the southward section of the reserves management plan, so that's a general council reserves management plan, includes a section for Grierson Plantation, and which is intended to provide a network of natural open spaces to support recreation, walk-in, community enjoyment, while protecting and enhancing the environmental values of the lagoon, coastal and riparian areas. The reserves management plan notes that future development and management should focus on improving public access and connectivity, restoring indigenous vegetation, maintaining key recreational assets, and addressing erosion and drainage issues. So the dog park proposal is, in my view, at odds with the current reserves management plan. So the first step, rather than a resource consent, which has been previously promoted as the approach, the first step should be to look at reviewing the reserves management plan prior to obtaining a resource consent, if there are any breaches of the district plan. The reasons for that is that the reserves management plan doesn't, in my view, in any way contemplate a dog park. As I've just explained, it materially doesn't even consider it as an option. Proceeding without amending the reserves management plan creates that argument that the council has failed to exercise its powers consistently with sections 40 and 41 of the Reserves Act, which require reserve management and development to occur consistently with the reserves classification and within its approved management planning framework. I also don't think it should be treated as a minor amendment to the reserves management plan, and that full public notification and consultation processes as set out in section 41 of the Reserves Act should be followed. In the event that the reserves management plan is amended to provide for the dog park, the council can then consider whether resource consent is required for the proposal in its final form. So through the reserves management plan review process, changes to the proposal as set out in Appendix 1 of my report may come about. So there could be different areas identified, different parking solutions, hours of use, those sorts of things. So until we understand how the proposal could be amended, there's little sense to proceeding firstly with the resource consent. May not need a resource consent at all. So I guess I'll leave it there. I'm happy to take any questions.
Before opening it to the floor, I was a little bit confused about the exact area that the dog park is in. I now understand that it's on the south of the access road to the quarry, rather than to the north of that. Is that correct?
That's right. So if you refer back to the report from the 10th of June on page 36, and I don't know if you've got it, but that report shows an area to the north of the access road is specifically identified. It caused me a little bit of confusion when I first started looking at it as well. But that's, I think it was discussed at the board meeting that was an alternative location. And on page 21 of tonight's report shows in appendix 1, page 21, the area where the preferred area for the dog park is to be.
And I think also, Mr. Chair, to note that the amendment to the reserve management plan will be met out of the council's operating budget, not a cost to the the South Ward Community Board.
Yes.
Where previously it had been suggested that that was going to be a cost, but we will make that out of the planning budget.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Thank you. So, any
Not so much a question, I suppose, as a comment.
Sorry?
Not so much a question, but a comment, if
Oh,
that's
you
allowed.
should we leave comments later and just do questions first? Probably all our comments. Might be good. Just. So,
Okay, wait.
Are there any other questions?
this.
Kevin.
So, Mr. McIntyre, thank you very much for that report, which was a very full, complete and helpful report. To get this perfectly clear in my own mind, the next step will be consultation on the amendment to the reserve management plan to allow for the Grierson Reserve to be used as a dog park. Now, that will go into consultation, the results will come back, be considered by the board. Now, if the board was of the mind, it would then recommend to the council that the reserve management plan be amended. At that point then, where you have a definite project, defined parameters, at that point then you would be looking at assessing whether the resource consent was actually needed. That's correct. Summarise that.
So once the decision is made to proceed to review the reserves management plan, then section 41 of the Reserves Act kicks in, and that starts the review process. So we do we advise affected or interested parties, section 41 clause 5. We'll give public notice of our intention to do so, receive that feedback, and then there'll be a 2-month public consultation process.
2 months, that was another question, 2 months, okay. So, and you're aware that the board at its meeting back in February passed a resolution that it requested staff to commence negotiation on the required changes to the reserves management plan. So that resolution is still on the box in the minutes.
So maybe I need to clarify.
It hasn't been withdrawn as yet.
The board does not have the delegation.
Okay,
So
so
the
that was.
board, let me finish, please. The board needs to recommend to council that council reviews the reserve management plan. We go through that reserve management plan review process, and there'll be people who will lodge submissions and wish to be heard. And that will be heard by council, not by this board.
Correct, that's one. So that gets
So
back.
then what you said, Kevin, was that it was going to be all coming back to this board, and that's
That
not the
was-
case.
Okay, that's fine, that clarifies it. Now, when the board passed that resolution, the CEO was present but made no comment on it. I mean, it was an issue which exercised my own mind as to whether in the board document as to whether the board at that point should have been looking at recommending to the council that it undertake consultation, which would have been the more correct approach. Unfortunately, the board relies on advice from staff, and that advice was not forthcoming. So that's right. So you go out for notification, the results will come back in, and council will then hear them. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, that's right. At that point, then, the issue of land resource consent will be established. So the other thing is, what's your timeline for going out to consultation?
Subject to,
Or rather, perhaps a step before that. So given that approval from council is required to go to consultation, how is that going to be obtained? Is the report now going to go to council to request that?
that's right.
And when is that going to happen?
Well, once we have instructions to do so
Instructions from who?
From us.
from this board.
Well, we have a recommendation in front of us that we just received the information.
This is a supplementary report to the 10th of June
And the 10th
report.
of June report asked us to recommend the council, well, asked us that we recommend the council that it just be treated as a minor amendment.
So I think,
And
Kevin,
now we're talking about a reversal of that 180-degree turn,
Yeah.
or a 360, that it should be treated in actual fact as a full consultation, not as a minor amendment.
Thanks, Kevin. I just,
but there is a live resolution, not technically correct, but there's a live resolution recommending that amendment is made to the reserve management plan. That's the 10th of February. I
That's
don't
right.
think we need to get overly pedantic about that. Doesn't refer to recommend. Can you not interrupt me? Sorry, because I lose my train of thought.
Apologies, fine.
And I'm trying to just, for the benefit of everybody, to just present this sort of logically and not overcomplicate things. So there is that February resolution, and in my view, we've put forward the way forward, and if you're comfortable with that, we'll get a report to the August council meeting and we'll get it underway.
That's what we want. That's what we
yeah,
want.
so with,
Sorry.
I can see a pathway here that is very, very simple in terms of the way that it's presented. So, are there any other questions?
Just one, Mr. Chair, regarding the content of the consultation process, what information will you be putting out to the public to guide them in terms of assessing it?
Well,
Supportive or they do not support it?
We would need a more detailed proposal to what is in appendix 1 of my report. So we need to understand what are the specifics of the proposal. So area, car parking requirements, signage, hours of operation, things of those natures.
That's all.
Thanks, Kevin. Pauline?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, through the chair. I just, first of all, just would note that the reason that this paper was left to lie on the table was because there was a need for clarification in regards to whether it was the resource management plan amendment or the resource consent that was needed first. And I want to thank you, Andrew. Your report makes it very, very clear what that process is. I just want to acknowledge the desire of many members of the community for a dog park. And I also wanted to just acknowledge that there are also concerns in regards to the Grierson plantation as a potential location and the potential impacts on that. We've heard some of them from Robert tonight. Thanks for presenting those. So it's very clear to me from this report and from the officer's direction that the proper process is is that we do go through a full resource management plan consultation, and that will allow all of community, including the immediate residents of Amberley Beach community and the wider community, to put forward their views in regards to that location as a dog park, whether they are in favour or against, and then all of those views can be well heard and well considered. So that is, in my mind, the correct process, and it does align with section 40 and 41, as you mentioned, Andrew. I'm also really thankful that in order to do that process, that the cost is going to be covered by the operational budget. I am willing to move a recommendation if and when the board feels ready, but I don't want to prevent anybody from making comment before I do that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Pauline.
Sorry, can I just, now I'm going to be pedantic. It's the reserve management
Sorry.
plan, and I've
Sorry.
heard you say, I know it's very confusing, it's not the resource management plan.
No, I know it's the reserves
Yeah,
management.
it's the reserves management, and
Thank you.
so if we should just make sure that's correct in the minutes.
Thank
Natasha.
you.
So, Annabelle?
So just general comments rather than questions. So absolutely keen to see this go through to council in August, and glad to see that. It was disappointing that we got into this situation where we've now in August gone back to where we were back in February. I mean, we had advice sent to the Southport Community Board report in May 25, which made the statement that full consultation change the reserve management plan would need to be undertaken. That's fine, that was our understanding. And then in June, we got a report which reversed that and said, oh, it should just be treated as a minor amendment. And I think we've gone nowhere in 6 months, but we need to get we need to get on with it.
We now have clarification,
and that's fine. So the question, I think, is what we want guidance from staff, exactly what they want from this meeting. We have a recommendation that we just received information. Is that what staff want? Got it by Andrew and Judith on that.
I was just offering some advice, maybe from a process perspective. It would be good to get a resolution, a mover and a seconder for the resolution, and then you could move into debate. People could then speak for or against, and then you can put the motion. It seems to be quite clear that you've got to wait for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through the chair. My recommendation would be that the Southport Community Board recommend to council that they begin the process to amend the Gresnam Plantation Reserves Management Plan to add a dog park.
Michelle? Sorry, through the chair. My concern is that it's very similar to the resolution that's already on the table that you've already approved, and you run the risk of a similar resolution.
With due respect, can I respond to that? With due respect, the resolution that was put on the table at the February meeting was to instruct officers, and this community board does not have the delegation to instruct officers. We must recommend to council. So in my mind, that is quite different. Instructing officers and recommending to council, which is the correct pathway, is different.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't want to get too pedantic about it. Michelle raised a very good point. There are a number of resolutions floating out there, like use of the sale yards, working on the dog park, etc., and so forth, which are out there, and this original one about instructing. And Michelle made a very worthwhile comment, which I agree with, that the best way of tidying this up is actually notice a motion to the next meeting that withdraws those and just replaces them with the action which is required. And for example, with that previous one, I could withdraw that. But yeah, I mean, we need to make progress on this.
Okay, thanks, you. Michelle?
I guess, through the chair, that a notice of motion is an option, but you also must be very, very careful that you're not removing a resolution to then replace it with a similar one or one that negates it. So it just has to be very careful that you don't get yourself in a pickle. And that you actually get yourself to the point where you can't do anything because you've taken something off the board and then you can't put it back on. So I just am mindful here that the resolution says officers are instructed to commence consultation on the necessary changes to the reserves management plan to allow Greason Avenue Reserve to be used in the dog park. Now, there is nothing to say, this is quite clear that you guys want this forward, there's nothing to say that officers can't then take a report to council with all the information that you guys have discussed here today and progress it without having to go down the very long and actually costly notice of motion process, because it does require a bit of effort on parts of officers and so forth, and you don't then become stuck with a resolution that you can't actually put because it's way too similar to one you took to the table.
Yeah.
So
How does say supports the previous resolution?
What I would suggest is that you just note in the minutes that the board agrees, not as a resolution, but agrees to continue with the previous, with the direction that was decided in the February meeting. Yeah, and then perhaps, in the email I sent out, perhaps just say, at this stage, it would very much like not to recommend to council about the Sale Yard Drive, but don't take it off, because then if you take it off, it's gone forever. Yeah. That option will never ever be able to come up again.
I think that's good advice for Chair. I mean, it does tell him through with that. I mean, we'd ask staff to commence work on it. As part of that work, they're now going to go to council and get through it. So it does finish together. So Michelle, in terms of resolution for this meeting, we just had one, receive the information. Do we just receive the information?
That would be fine for us.
Yeah.
And a comment though. And a comment.
And a comment.
Yeah.
And thanks to the chair, can I just be assured that by doing that, because the intent is very clear in the room, that we do want to move this forward, and the understanding is very clear in the room that it is up to council to make that decision in regards to starting the consultation. I just would like assurance that officers are instructed to commence consultation, and our direction that you're hearing now, that they are aligned and we're not going to get into any process pedantics. And if that is the case, then I am more than happy with that, because my, I just would like to move it through the right channel, and the right channel is for council to, should they decide that it's appropriate, to begin that process.
So I think, Mr. Chair, the comment that Kevin made was that in progressing this, yes, you've instructed us to progress with consultation, but we know that we need to engage with council before, and the council will, well, I can't speak on behalf of council, but I would be very surprised if council did not follow through on that. So as an officer, I'm comfortable with the February resolution.
Fantastic. And I think that can all be reflected in the discussion of the minutes quite clearly.
Yeah.
So, Chair, if it is appropriate, I'm happy to move that the information be received.
Okay, so happy with that. Information received, and any right, the right is to that, no.
We've got resolutions on the paper already.
Yeah,
seen and
okay.
everything.
Everybody happy with that, Kevin?
And the slowdown on Sale Yard Drive?
It's in the comments.
Yeah.
So could you just read what comments you have there?
Just.
There might be a bit of time on that, Marsha. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that we have a very clear understanding that you, at this point in time, you do not want to progress Sale Yard Drive.
Yeah.
You want to progress Grierson,
Yes.
Yeah.
and our advice is that it needs an amendment to the reserve management plan. And so that's, and you've already requested that in your February resolution, so we'll just get on with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So a second,
No,
Or
just the
the
information.
information received. Brett?
Sorry, who moved it?
Kevin
Kevin.
did. Yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll put the motion, all those in favour of
Aye.
against, carry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For the wise counsel.
Actually, Mr. Chair, a very,
Judith and Michelle.
a very, very big thank you to our three staff members there, because they
Yeah.
really have helped us tonight, so it was really.
Okay, that's really great. Thank you very, very much.
I'm just gonna swap out with Jason.
Okay. So, thank you for that. We'll now move on to, decision item 2.2, the request to remove trees, Leafield Beach, or a tree from Leafield Beach, it's page 20. Oh, no, it's the separate, paper that we received. From, Josie Hemming. Okay, it's, is anybody wanting to present that? Or shall,
So hold on once.
I assume it's being read.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm confused here. Is the next one, I thought the next one was the fee waiver.
No, the next one is removal of trees, and we received,
What page is that?
we received the documents separately as a late item.
No,
That's right.
So it's a landowner,
Yeah.
it's a landowner at Leafield. They have a tree that is
Yeah, so I've seen photos of it.
not very good, and against a fence, and in the, but they've had advice that it is actually not in good shape. They want to get rid of it, and it seems like a really sensible thing to do. So, does anybody want to talk to that,
Yeah.
Pauline?
Sorry, can I just clarify what you just said, Mr. Chair? You said that it had been classified as sorry. It actually says in here that it's been assessed as sound, not that it's
Yeah, that's true.
sorry, that's in conflict to what you
It is.
just said.
Why did I?
So these are different arborists' views of whether it's sound or not. So one says it's written trees, the other says it's sound.
Yes, I think that's right. I did pick that up somewhere.
So, I mean, one of them says that there's safety concerns expressed by a tree worker, but the second point says it's been assessed as sound by council's preferred arborist. I just wanted to clarify which.
Okay, I guess, and then under clause 7, it says it's not positioned in an appropriate location, abutted up against the boundary fence with potential to cause undue interference and damage to property. And that the landowner is prepared to cover the cost, has agreed to cover the cost.
Oh, look, I'm happy to support the recommendation. I just wanted to ensure that the room was clear that there was conflicting information. But given that it's not going to come at any cost to council, and that it seems to me that it's going to prevent further issues in future, it would seem to me that appropriate was to approve the removal at the cost of the adjoining landowner as per the recommendation.
Okay, just Kevin.
So, Mr. Chair, it's interesting because in this case, the landowners approving it is very, very similar to the 30-odd pine trees got taken out back of King's Road because they're very, very tall and had a potential risk which council paid for fully, but in this case, the landowners doing it probably in terms of property law act, I think it would possible for the landowner to get us to pay for it, but
But he's off.
he's off the paper. My only query is really, do we have the delegation to be able to approve that?
Sorry, I might do it if it's not gonna be, but where is it?
It's
In a
either
road reserve.
right on private property, but it might very well be on the outside fence.
So
So it's on reserve.
It's on the other side.
Oh, it's on the road reserve.
Yeah,
It's on the reserve side.
So that's on reserve,
Yeah.
a recreation reserve or a road reserve?
recreation, just reserve.
Reserve, then you have the delegation. to make.
Thank you. Clarifying that. Great.
Can I just take a step at point 9 and 10, just mentioning that HG Tree Services is not site-wise accredited, so just making sure that they do follow through with the site-specific health and safety plan so that we don't have any liability there, so it's make absolutely sure that we get that covered off as well.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to remove.
Well,
Sorry.
we had Pauline
Yes,
I think-
of course, moving that.
who indicated that she would
Okay.
move that. So the officer, you were moving, Pauline?
Yes,
The
I was,
officer
yep, then it
recommendation.
took into account, the recommendation takes into account councillor Jones's concern there that we ensure that there is a site-specific health and safety plan.
You'll second that, Brett? Thank you very much.
Can we look at comments? Chief?
Comments, yes?
In terms of the delegations, I'm just making a point here. We had a resolution to review those. We had a workshop in March and we still haven't seen anything. Now, our delegations actually say that we only have authority relating to items funded by the Wellington Recreation Reserves. This is actually on Esplanade Reserve.
Yeah.
We don't, in terms of our current delegations, have an authority. I make that point to just show how unsuitable and how unfit for purpose
Yeah.
the current delegations that we work are actually. So I make that point.
Okay, that's a good point, and we do need to look at that and see where that ended up. Yeah.
So
You're
Nathan
exactly
is,
right, Kevin.
Nathan has said they'll come back there, but it is an Esplanade Reserve, not a recreation reserve. It probably should have been mentioned before.
Yeah, Michelle.
If I may, that delegation's report sits with me currently. And as you're aware, we are down a team member, and so we are covering 35 hours amongst 3 of us. So we're doing, it's in the pipelines and it's gonna come back to you.
We could always cut to the chase, Mr. Chair, and jump ahead and just adopt the Waimak District Council delegations.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, look, any other comments?
I'd just like to say that you're on the website of the council, you're allowed to apply to do work on free of charge in a reserve. That's sort of, and that all you have to do is submit a safety plan to the council and tell them when you're going to do it. But I'm happy for the tree to come down.
Thank you. Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much. We now move on to the fee rate waiver request. On page 26. Michelle, do you want to? It's got you as reviewer, but I'm happy to just take it as read and ask for any comments if anybody has any. It's the Honorary Youth project. Runs alongside the Honorary Youth Council.
Just like to say that got me sold when they said the fee waiver represents a limited and target form of council support. I thought, okay, that's quite nice to put.
Yeah. Any other comments from anyone? You care to move? Okay, so. Yeah, so Hamish has moved the officer recommendation as presented there on page 26. Yeah, seconded James,
Cool.
thank you very much. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, Carried. Next one is Deerfield Beach Community Centre replacement heat pump, page 30. And anybody want to
I'm happy.
follow that?
Move it,
It's clean.
replace it.
Yeah.
I'll move that we replace it.
I'll just make a comment. So I looked at what a U4 era was and yeah, it's pretty terminal, so. It was one of those things where, you know, even if they do fix it, chances are it was caused by someone else going away and just fail again, so
Yeah,
yeah, replacing it is
Okay,
it's a useful thing to do.
it seems pretty clear, so
I moved it.
yeah, James moved it
And
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 yeah, second. Okay, all in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We now move on to the discussion items. We have Naomi. Laurie. Okay. Naomi, can you hear me? We're moving on to your report.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Great.
we can.
Okay.
You're most welcome. Greetings.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Lovely to be here. So I'm just here to present the report on the season that was of the Amberley Pool. Also online is Anne Franklin. She's actually the supervisor of the pool, who has been doing an absolutely amazing job in this last season. I'm sure you've all read the report. The thing that really stands out for me is that attendance is up, but it's not just up in one area. It's the whole right across everything from lessons, aquafit, swim school, everything is right up. There's a lot of cost pressures that are affecting us at the moment. The chemicals have gone through the roof. The cost of electricity is really high. Everything is so much more, cost of living crisis and all that. But with our numbers that are up, we've actually been able to defer those prices. And so we've got a facility that's earning its keep as an amazing community asset. Now, there were some figures that we were to put into that report. Now, I've got some of those for you. Some of them are, let me just find the other page. Will be this one. We've got the income that's come through from those particular areas. Now, we're still working through with the finance team on splitting out the actual costs that go with that, because of course we have lifeguards that go with that. We've got to divide up some of the wages. Some of the wages that just go into one GL are a mixture of these user pays type ones versus the general income. And we have it's a little unusual with the pool in as much that we have a separate POS system down at the pool that is different to anything else in the other parts of the council. And that's in the council service centres and others. Our POS system, we don't actually have a POS system. We use the currently the Datascape cash receipting system. It goes straight in and gets lodged straight against the right GLs within in cash receipting. It's a little complicated when you see the front end of that the staff actually deal with. So a lot of our lifeguards are young teenagers, and so we have a very simple FPOS system where it's used on an iPad. They pick it up. It's like, here's an admission, one child, one adult, one group, and they're all listed there as buttons. It hits those, it goes in, and it all totals up. But it totals up into one bulk. Here's all the income at the end of it. And then when it goes through for banking, we've had an issue where the banking just goes straight through, and this is where some of our line items are slightly different. So there's no differentiating of whether the income included any learn to swim lessons or memberships. It all just goes in as straight out as the income into admissions, or there's ice creams in amongst it. So we're trying to actually work on a way to better split that out so that we can see it all as we do our reports at the back, but it's very hard on a what the finance team actually get to see. So when we have, particularly in our Learn to Swim programs, where parents were doing a lot of paying for that online and it comes through, if they didn't put the right references in, they've been reconciled to different accounts, they've been sitting in suspense accounts, they go against just pull in, so it's been really difficult for the finance team to have to actually try and manage. So the system we're going to move to this season will be via invoice, so that we'll be able to manage a lot more of that and be able to have much clearer accounts as they appear for everyone each month. But the figures that I've got for you under the Amberley Swim School was actually $12,800. Broomfield gave us 6,400. Learn to Swim, which was 341 children by $116, was 39,000 for that Learn to Swim. Our holiday block sessions, which was just a really new initiative this time, it's just building and growing, was 2,315. The events, so we had some school sports that come in and use the pool, do their triathlons and things, 1,600 for that. So our total for that was 62,000. Now, in the ledger, it shows as 40,000. So we've got a discrepancy there unreconciled of 22 that we're just still finalising where that money has landed into which account. And we can see even in the breakdowns, things like some things are just showing up as purchases when they should actually be showing up as contractors or cleaning or maintenance. So we've got to really tighten up in our new Datascape system and get that sorted out. So that's something that we'll be really working on this year. So that's kind of my summary for where things are at, and happy to take questions. And I'm sure Anne is online and happy to take questions as well. But yeah, I'd just like to say I'm really, really proud of the season that we've actually had. In the resident satisfaction survey, there were actually quite a few comments that came through about the pool and about what a great community asset it is. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. No, I'd agree with you. It's a pretty impressive report. Numbers.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Now to questions, Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair. Hello, Naomi. Firstly, I think it's a fantastic facility that I've used a lot since it's been open. But could I take through to point number 35 in relation to heat and humidity extraction?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know that it's for 2.5 odd years. Have we got any movement with either one of those 4 different groups as to responsibility?
No. The simple answer is no. It's a real source of frustration for me too. And actually, I have an update on that one. 2 weeks ago, we had the building warranty fitness check came through, and the extraction unit for the front one, which is where the toilets and things are, didn't work. So that didn't actually start either. So that's just had a quote come through. Anne will confirm that. I'm going to just come back to that one. But I believe it's about $4,000 it's going to cost us to get that repaired. And of course, we're going to make sure that this time it's done with the chlorine resistant coatings. So that wasn't put on when the original one was done. So, but no, this is an absolute source of frustration. I know that the project manager who was working on this originally, he called so many meetings and everyone just did like this. It was like, you caused this, like it was a design fault. No, it wasn't a design fault. It was an installation fault. No, it was an installation fault. It was an operator error. No, it wasn't an operator error. It was actually something else that was wrong. So they've all just like pointed at each different way, and it's really hard to actually come down and find anything with it. The very last one, so the designers were basically pointing at different, but the electrician, when they actually got up and had a look at one part, some of the insulation that was actually in the ducting had come loose and gone into the fan and jammed it. So then you go, okay, so now we've actually found what caused it, but then it's the electrician then go, oh yeah, but that failed, but then it was actually a design fault of the plant, because it should have had a fail safe that should have stopped it automatically and it should never have burnt out. So it's just been this no one taking any responsibility. In the meantime, here we are years later without this extraction unit working.
Well,
so
I can sense your frustration. Thank you very much for the answer as it stands.
Thank you.
So Mr. Chair, I was actually, Brett sort of beat me to it, I was going to query about the same paragraph too, but because I had raised it down as a result of So they talked to me the issues around corrosion, condensation in the pool. And there have been a reference to some, design assumptions, but I mean, it's been 2 years since the problem has been there. I mean, do we have any prospect of getting anybody to own up to it and pay for it, or do we simply have to bite the bullet and fix the damn thing? Do we know how much cost is involved? No, at all.
No, and this is part of the problem is my gut feel personally is we had a design that was wrong right from the beginning. That and there's a whole series of things that go into that, but the architects who put the design together through the person that they used to do that stuff, from what I can understand is that they did it as a first cut draft off the paper kind of plans that went through without doing all the real work into the volumes of this, that and the other and how it should all be done. And that was done as a placeholder exercise so that initial quotes could be done while they would then go forward and do their actual getting the designs specifically done. But that wasn't communicated, and when our project team took over that to save the funds for using Create as the project managers to save that money, Create never pointed out that actually that work was still to be done. And so the project team thought that the designs that were with it were proper designs, and that was what was proceeded on. And so and again, this is all very much he said, she said, and this comes out from some of these meetings. But the people who made those, the people from Australia, they're the ones that said that actually the fans that have gone and they were overspec'd, and they said right from the beginning that we thought that they were wrong right from the beginning because they were too big for the volumes that they were dealing with, and also that they didn't have chlorine resistant coating on them, so we knew that they would fail. And it's like, did you not have some care in this? And so they've sort of gone, well, yes, but we did what we were told to do. So there's all this sort of pointing around that way. So we've got some culpability because what was put in was what we ordered. The fan people have got culpability because they knew that they were putting in something that wasn't right. Creator taking no responsibility whatever, or those original designers, because they're saying that that's what they were just doing as a normal part of a process and it wasn't where they were going. The electrician, who's the one that installed the ducting that had the failure with the insulation, they're saying that while they're not taking any responsibility for replacing or repairing, they are saying that if we go and put something new in, they'll look after us. And all the parties are saying that. They're all saying, oh, we'll look after you as we go forward. We'll all look after you as we go forward. But there's nothing specific with it. So, yeah, my gut feel is that we actually need to, and this is where our property team have been doing some analysis of actually getting a proper design on, like, what do we actually need, so we don't spend good money after bad, and or something, even with getting this repaired and the other part and spending $4,000 for a repair on something. At least with this one, I know that it's going to be done with chlorine resistance and be all done properly. And we haven't had a problem at that end up until now, but it needs a proper design of what is needed for extraction. Whether that's SOx. I don't know if you know about, like, most pools will have a SOx system that goes through when they do their ventilation. I did talk to Create about that, and they were like, oh no, that's just for indoor pools, and of course Amberley's not an indoor pool, it's an outdoor pool with a shed over it. So there's all these complicating kind of things that go with it. They just don't make it straightforward, but as we operate the pool, it's really frustrating.
So
Questions? Yeah, James.
I'm just, because this problem's obviously going to get worse and worse with the condensation and the chlorine buildup on the building. So we're degrading the building as we're going on into the future, doing nothing about fixing this ventilation. It seems like a no-brainer that the council's going to have to stump up the money to fix this problem. And it's just going to have to be fixed, but I would be damned if you use the same contractors again. They're not going to look after you. They haven't looked after us now to this point. But it needs to be done, like sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree, and I know that that's the property team have got this high on their agenda right at the minute, that they are looking at this design stuff now of like calling for looking at what would be required and calling for a design and a tender. And once they have that design, I'm sure it will come back. The process will be to bring it back in front of you because it will be all unbudgeted expenditure. I mean, we can absorb lots within what we do, and we try and cut things out and increase where we can and do what we can. But I think we've kind of reached our limit in that, and yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder whether we've got a question here for Jason. You know, if this is sort of like capital investment to try and restart something, would that go into the capital rate rather than the operational rate?
It can do. What would end up happening will be we just extend the capital rate repayment for a longer period of time, depending on the cost. We are collecting for $64 per rate per, it's collecting about $180,000. So hopefully it wouldn't be a whole year's worth of $64, but that essentially would be the case.
It seems like a capital sort of investment for me. It's finishing off the build of it, really.
Yeah. And what the operational rate does is just cover all the operational costs. So if there is still a debt there, it will be funded from the extension of the capital rate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're saying that the operations people are actually working on this and have it on their to-do list at the moment, and you know, is that on the basis that you're just forgetting about what's happened in the past and starting from scratch, or you?
Yes, it is. That's exactly it. It's like looking and going. It's so they've been collecting the data on the humidity and the temperatures, and they hope to take that to design to go, okay, this is what we've got. What do we actually need, so that we don't replace exactly what we had with what we had, but do we get what we actually need? So that's the plan, is to actually do it from that, and that's what they're working on at the moment, is to go to that next stage.
Yeah. Okay. So just a question. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Hamish.
Is there an opportunity here to actually use it to upgrade what's there? It strikes me that seeing as you're sort of going back to basics, that maybe there's an opportunity to make something slightly better, more energy efficient, in which case the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority has grants available to councils for those sort of energy efficiency projects. So there may be an opportunity there that's worth investigating.
I've made a note of that, and I'll pass that on to the property team too, as part of their looking at that. I know that solar was looked at when they were designing the bill, but the cost, it was such a tight budget, and it just was one step too far for the budget at the time to go to solar, even though there would be the gains. It was a cost benefit thing right up at the beginning, but if there's some grants and things available, then there could be something that they could look at as part of that.
Yeah, so obviously go back to Hamish to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, sorry. Well, you had
Just indicating that Hamish.
Okay, right. So just a question then on timelines, Naomi. When are you expecting to get something back from Property Unit? And I'm assuming that in actual fact, we won't be able to do anything before the coming pool season. Well, there would have to be a winter close season next year. Would that be correct?
Okay, so I had chased up the property team because I wanted to be able to have something for this meeting, and they're still working through with the information they've got to come up with what they need to do. So I don't have a specific timeline on that. The one thing that I do know was for the fans that they have, that the extraction fans, they're not just sitting on a shelf somewhere. There's something like a 3-month lead in to actually even get them manufactured and done. So if we go through a process where there's a design part done and then there's a call for tenders or how that process works, that I totally agree. It's not going to be in time for our coming season. I mean, we're in August now. We'll actually be opening the pool next month. Not to the public completely. That'll be in October. That'll be in 2 months. But next week we'll be recommissioning the pool and we'll be getting that underway. We'll have our members coming back and using that as pre-season. We'll be training lifeguards again. We'll be doing all that pre-season stuff from next month. So there won't be time for it for the season. So we'll be running again with our misting fans and our cooling scarves. But yeah, it'll be next season before there'll be something happening. I can't imagine that they could install that while we're open, but I could be wrong, depending on what the system is. Yeah.
Okay. I've just got a comment on clause 44, where we have funding initiatives for water play equipment, swim training aids, garden benches, etc. Like relatively small stuff, and I might have a conflict of interest here, but you know, approaching Lions would not be a silly idea for some of those smaller items.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Anne has actually been working on a lot of this at the moment. So this is another one, and it's another area that we've actually talked about using our volunteers. We even sort of thought, is there someone that we could even have volunteer fundraisers and coming and doing things. Some of these smaller things, like when we talk about the likes of the inflatables, as much as they're small, they sort of tend to start at about $3,000. So yeah, they're not, they're industrial small, commercial small. So yeah, they're a little bit more than that. Although we did look at some of them for about $500 for some of the little Sally Seal and some other bits too. So we have been so lucky with the likes of Gold Pine helping us with some of the sponsorship, with some local plants, local bits and pieces. We have been really fortunate. We had, you know, a lot of prizes donated at not our last Manu competition, because we didn't have it this last season, but the season before we had so much business support, so many people doing it. But yeah, she'll definitely be approaching businesses, and we'll make sure that the Lions is back on that. And it's a matter of just putting out of the kinds of things that we need and can do. The pool has become a real community base. So, you know, the fact that we can have volunteers come down because people see it as their space and they want to make it better for their community. So, and we love that thinking, that it's not just let's put our hand out to council to fund all these things. What are the other ways that we can do to actually improve these? Yeah, but thank you for that tip.
Yeah, no, look, thank you very much, Pauline.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair, through the chair. Just in regards to that funding, I know you're all over it, but MPD do have a fund, and they also have one that is like an ongoing annual. So if you could pass that on, that'd be great. I really want to acknowledge the work that's gone into this report, Naomi. I felt like it was a very fulsome report that informed me on absolutely everything about the pool. So I want to thank you for that. Just one question, and I don't want to get into operational stuff, but page 48, the accessible toilet lock that failed, $1,000. I mean, I was really pleased to read that all the others were serviced and lubricated. That sounds like a really good preventative approach, but $1,000, you know, like, was there not another lock we could just?
Oh, I would have loved to have said that we could have just gone down to the hardware down the shop down the road, but the doors are made of aluminium. Like, they're actually great big solid aluminium doors. Again, this was a specification that Create put in, and what happened and how these doors were made, and they're specially made systems that go in for their locking. Because they're accessible, they have to be able to open from the inside safely and close. I don't know exactly, but we couldn't believe it. We were out for quite a period of time too, because that is not in stock. I think we were out for about 10 days when we couldn't actually use that toilet, because it's a toilet and a changing room and everything else all in one. If we could just go and go, could we just replace these with cheaper ones and do the whole cheaper one? I don't know whether I could have got a door and everything else for that one price, but it's part of the whole chlorine environment commercial thing that was specified by Create up front. And I think as we're starting to get our head around some of these things, it's like, if we need to replace things, what would we do next time rather than placing like with like?
Well, look,
Yeah.
full kudos to the property team. I know they will have considered every alternative and have been all over it, but I was just surprised at that. But thank you so much for this report and for covering absolutely every aspect of the pool that I want to know about. I shall go and dust off my goggles.
And I have to give kudos to Anne on this one too. So, a lot of the information that's come through all of this has come from Anne, the team. They are an amazing team, and you will have seen in there that we've actually got most of the lifeguards coming back this season. That doesn't happen. This is an industry that's really, really hard to staff in. And we've got this wonderful environment where people are actually returning year upon year upon year. We've got 3rd and 4th year lifeguards, and it's great.
So I think that Pauline summed that up really, really well. Unless anybody's got any further queries, I think we'll bring your fantastic report to a close, Naomi.
Thank you so much.
You and Anne, very, very much. Really interesting.
Thank you.
So, Pauline, would you
Yeah,
move that we
we've
receive?
received the report and thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Naomi.
Thank you. Bye.
Second, yeah, Brent, thank you. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. Now, Jason, and we have Jason's papers, but also there was an email from Kevin to Jason and responded again, and I hope everybody's got a copy of his responses to that. So, Jason.
Yeah.
All yours.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Don't expect the same level of fantastic. It's hard to financial reports there. This is the report to the end of June. It does represent 12 months of the financial year, so we have round up for the year, but the finance team going through the full audit process. So some of these numbers are subject to change once we get into that process. So you just put in a qualifying statement there of the numbers and so I think that by the time we confirm things, there'll be a reason for it. So for the year, top of page 59, amenities rate. We started the year with a debt of 1.68 million. Total rate money for the year was 772,000, a bit up on what we allowed for in the budget. That reflects the growth that was in the area. Other income is listed there, dominated by transfers from development contribution funds, but the two key items here, the camp fees for the Amberley Beach Reserve, obviously down by about 20,000 on what we had allowed for in the budget. We've been offset, not exactly offset, by some grant revenue relating to the town, the Eastern Reserve. So total revenue altogether was 1.24, just a wee bit down on our revenue for the revenue budget for the period, but that is mainly due to the timing of work relating to the walking and cycling routes. Expenditure wise, generally most of the line items are under budget or pretty much on budget. These a few items raised by Kevin last couple of days around under general amenities. We've got contractors. The actual was just under 50,000 of a budget of 69,000, but in the same breath we've got repairs and maintenance, an actual amount of 36,500 as opposed to a budget of only 15,000. But those two items together, as I've stated there, were only about $2,000 or $3,000 difference if they were accumulated. And part of it will be just a wee bit of coding errors, particularly at the start of the year with our new software system, just getting that right, but overall it's about correct. The other variances through the expenditure there, the key one there is under township, Amberley Township expenses. The projects relating to the walking and cycling routes, we had a budget of 20,000, only spent about budget of 200,000, only spent about 100,000. So I did say in my email I will endeavour to check before the meeting to see whether there is any of those projects that are still to be carried forward. I regret I did not find that information out, but it is a process we go through in August to try and identify all the projects or the key projects that had been budgeted for, and getting an assessment of what we've actually spent for all the staff to identify what projects still need to be completed. So I would suspect that we didn't do all the work that was planned with that $200,000 budget. So there will be items that will need to be carried forward. But the people that were involved with those projects are in a project management team, and they all sit with the new water company at the moment. So we just have to work that through with the getting the right staff to. They still will do project work for us because they're experienced project managers. It's just so top of page 60 is just continuing the and at the end of June, the balance of the amenities account was 1.66, so it was about $20,000 lower than what we had started with. There was a comment from Kevin in direct comparison with the long-term plan, and yeah, we are some way away from what we had allowed for in the long-term plan originally, but we've had a couple of years of significant overspends in operating costs, and other items such as the reduction in revenue has all fed into the fact that the debt is higher than what we were hoping for when we set the long-term plan. Right. Right, just seeing out if there's any other queries about the amenities account. Given the fact that I tried to answer some of those items from Kevin's list of queries earlier.
Thanks, through the chair, can I just ask a process question? In regards to the queries that are put forward, that we're referring to, do they become part of the agenda for public to look at? Or, you know, if someone was listening and wondered what we were referring to?
I'm sure we can do that.
I just wondered what the process.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably more there for as a prompt for the discussion tonight. But I mean, it's there for everybody to read if you know, I can go through each one individually to be clear. But
where would that get posted?
That's what I'm just wondering. That's why I'm asking the question is if we've read and we're comfortable with the explanation, then you know, we might not revisit it at a meeting, but it might be.
I mean, it is actually quite helpful.
It's very helpful.
Isn't it? Yeah, so, you know, I encourage it to continue, you know, right? And it, you know, just informs everybody better, you know, working ahead of time. But yeah, where would it be?
I look at it as a late report, so it would just sit within that agenda folder of the website. Obviously redacting anything that needs to be redacted, you know, with regards to personal details, but I can definitely upload that if that was.
It's not trying to ditch stuff. I just thought, I found it really enlightening, and so.
and you know, I do appreciate that because it gives me a chance to look through it rather than getting caught on the spot because
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I am a little bit removed from right at the deep detail, and you just need to do a bit of work to find out the answers.
Happy to leave that as processed. I'm sure Natasha's quite.
I'm happy to
Capable to-
upload, yeah, if that's what the board wishes, I can upload that.
Kevin?
So I just have some questions that were Mr. Chair, is it appropriate?
Oh, yeah, okay, I think we've
So,
covered that off.
so.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, you know, it's related to, you know, a document that's in the public arena. And
Okay.
clarifies for everybody.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, to Jason, with the current track, we have a budget of 3,000. We've never ever shown any expenditure on it, and I know staff require it. And having talked and said, well, we don't actually have a code to charge it to. So can we give them a job code to charge it to?
Yeah, I can do, and I will do. We do have some, it's not a uncommon issue for gardeners. We need to try and make it as easy as possible for them to record their time. Sort of received a wee bit of resistance of having, you know, 150 different codes for them to put their time to. So, but yeah, we can certainly work on that with JC and the team.
So the other one was contractors and repairs and maintenance. Should we actually amalgamate those two?
Yeah, there would have been a reason why we had them separated out. It's just the said earlier, the coding practice hasn't been as accurate or hasn't really matched what we've ended up paying. So yeah, there is no problem in doing that.
It might, I mean, it's sort of related. At the moment, you've got one over and one under.
Yeah.
Makes sense to put them together. And the final question, Mr. Chair, just related to Amberley Beach and that charge for purchases 3367 and the actual report is tagged as being the Kiwi camp charge, but looking at the breakdown, it's solid waste expenses, locksmith and McCall parts and pieces, but so it's got nothing to do with Kiwi camp charges.
No, well, that it was originally coded to Kiwi Camp, and we've got a project called Kiwi Camp for each of the various camping grounds that are part of that, and it was just transferred from that project code to here, just with the comment Kiwi code, Kiwi Camp. When I dug down a bit deeper, it was solid waste charges from.
So solid waste expenses 3,000 because we know that Dan gave us an estimated cost of the apportionment of rubbish collection to the Amberley Beach camping ground of being $17,000, but rubbish is in one great big lump sum, isn't it, worldwide? That's correct.
Sorry, rubbish.
Rubbish collection.
Yeah, well, it's well, it is. Yeah.
How much rubbish?
Yeah, I think there was some additional costs that were
So
related.
this would be in addition to this.
Yeah, so we don't, well, we haven't allowed for I think any refuse collection costs apart from that 3,076 from the camping ground. Refuse collection is funded separately by the refuse collection rate, so it's not part of your
That's not a classification. Thank you, Chair.
I mean, Naomi indicated that the pool chemicals have gone up. That's an incredible increase over time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, certainly.
From 12 to 20 grand over the last 4 years.
Yeah, and Kevin's identified the fact that the amount that we've spent this year is only just under $5,000. So whether there is stockpile from previous years and use it for this year or
Maybe.
not goers. We certainly did allow a large budget for it, and that was primarily what was in the long-term plan, and as we move through the process, actually understanding the way the pool operates, because when we put this long-term plan together 3 years ago, very early stages of the operations with the new pool. Yeah, so the pool, the item there, electricity, still stands out at me. I have my contact at Genesis Energy has reached out to me on a whole range of other things, and yeah, it is one of those things to discuss with her about when I have some previous basically. So yeah, not belittling the process. It's just it's not the highest on my priority list right now. Okay. But as it currently sits, we've got the debt from the pool has moved from 620,000 down to 365,000, and that's a combination of costs being controlled and additional revenue from admissions, but also the operational and capital rate both being higher than what we've budgeted for, because we've got more ratepayers paying this.
Yeah. You're not paying power. And you're not paying power.
Oh, yeah. I'm leaving that one alone for a little bit. The roadside construction account, again, we've started the year with the debt, and that was debt relating to work that was primarily done in Leithfield in last financial year, and the rates that we've received for this year has just gone to service that debt. So it's 20,000 come off that balance.
That's great.
The Beach Foreshore Protection Fund, and it's just provided here to close the loop. We know these debt from the renourishment project that was done 2 years ago of left a debt of 290,000. There is 30-odd thousand from the rates, targeted rates from Amberley Beach, and the other 20,000 that has come from a transfer from the amenities account, and the total interest 13,500. So that balance sits at 252,000. In the 26-27 year, you'll recall the Amberley Beach residents wanted to increase the rate from previously $309 up to $400. So that will be an increase in the rate money that will come in. That'll help offset the debt for a period of time. Then we roll into the various development contribution funds. So the town reserves DC fund, we had a balance of just over $1 million, and that is for the development of neighbourhood reserve that we've already purchased, plus allowance for another 2 over the next few years. The walking and cycling routes, balance of 160 in that account. The ward reserves DC fund, even with the work that was done on the playground, we still have a balance of 322,000 in that account. And then we had this Amberley Beach Reserve Fund that just had a tiny little amount in it, and that's just been transferred to the Foreshore Protection Fund. The Leithfield Beach Reserve Fund started the year with a debt of 12,000, actually received more rate money that has paid off that debt. And Kevin's comment was what happens to that. So that 251 dollars. We're not collecting any more rates for that to repay that debt because it's been repaid. And yeah, we've just we do have tiny amount of funds left over. We can leave it in that fund and look at other things to build that fund up, or that 250 is transferred to Amberley, to Leakfield, to the amenities account, and potentially tagged to expenditure for Leakfield or Leakfield Beach, because they were the ratepayers that were funding.
Yeah.
A really technically pure way of doing it is going back and refunding a portion of the $251 to each of the Leakfield Beach ratepayers. But that will be I don't know, cheap for 25 cents. Just if it was a significant amount, and we have been in this position before, where we have struck a rate for a specific purpose, that specific purpose hasn't been come to fruition, and needing to find a way of refunding that rate back to the ratepayers. Now, happened just before my time. The council set a rate for the capital development of the museum in Christchurch, and that project got deferred. So what this council did was just went through a process of refunding it back to the ratepayers as a rebate to the rates that was struck at that point. A little bit short-sighted, because there's quite a lot of work and a lot of costs relating to the development of the museum at the moment, but that's my view. Okay, and the final is the reserves contestable fund. Started the year with 1,500. We allocated 30,000 from the district reserves, and for this financial year we have spent 13,500, leaving a balance of just under 18,000, and that on page 62 is the full reconciliation of that fund. You see there's a couple of little rats and mice, but the key numbers there is that from last year's allocation, we still had 17,500 unallocated.
Yeah.
Plus, as of a month ago, there'll be another 30,000 sitting in that account. So altogether, there'll be very close to 50,000 to be allocated.
So just for your information, we have developed a new process to actually take applications. It's twice a year we're running it, and there are certain rules around that, and it's out in public arena seeking applications. So it's during September we will be reducing that number.
Yeah, no, I might not have money in the
But we've made good progress on that, taking it away from a sort of control thing through.
That's
me. That's great.
Certainly happy to answer any questions, but do appreciate picking us up on the queries ahead of time. So
No, we'll continue to do that. I think, won't you, Kevin? You'll continue to observe and ask questions. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Any further queries? Okay, thank you very much, Jason. And year end comes around once a year, doesn't it?
Far too quickly for my liking.
That was very deep.
Yeah. So look, we thank you again for all your effort and your explanation. Somebody care to move? Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Move the acceptance of the financial report by Mari. Thank you. Seconder, Anaka. Thank you. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the correspondence, and we have a number of items here. The first one is a letter from the Leafield Community Centre, thanking us for the work on the replacement of old and damaged footpaths. Okay, so that's from Castle. Okay.
If I can just speak
Yeah,
to that.
yes.
Look, at the community centre meetings, they have been really positive and really thankful on a number of occasions for that work. So it's really nice that they've put that in writing, I think.
Yeah.
You know, their appreciation. Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't happen overnight, the
Yeah.
footpath, but it did happen.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Okay, anything else? Okay, the second item is Leafield Community, the Leafield Village Traffic and Speed Letter. This is from Joe. And yeah, there is a lot of data there relating to the speeding in the Leafield Village. And yeah, given that the mean speed of where they measured is 69 kilometres, it's
In a 50-kilometre area.
Exactly. So
With a high speed of,
yeah,
did you see?
136 or yeah.
136.2 kilometres per hour
Yeah,
in a 50-kilometre area.
So, you know, I'm aware that the Leafield community has been asking for this for a long time, and all the ones who got it commissioned, and you know, the Leafield community has been on about traffic speed controls for a number of years. So, does anybody else want to comment here, Brett?
A question through the chair. It's just curious, in the second paragraph there, Joe refers to repeated requests for results of the data was eventually provided. Are you aware of who she was or who provided this data? Because it reads as if she tried extremely hard multiple times to get this information. So where did this information come from?
She asked me at one of the meetings if I could get the information. I asked Nathan Chicken if he could get it. And then he came back to me and said that it wasn't with the council. We had to go to NZTA. And then Jo came in herself and got it from council.
Oh, right. Thank you very much.
That's how she got it.
Okay. It's just the context. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, thanks for trying.
Yeah.
Annika? Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
So I guess it was NZTA who did this.
This is a question, just share some local roads under control of Hauranga District Council.
Yes, yeah, it's true, but you don't happen to know how that process would go.
Sorry.
Oh, so for the speed cameras, you know, it looks as if NZTA maybe provided the.
I don't think we would have the facility to provide a breakdown like that. I think it would have to have come from NZTA, I would have thought, with the detail of that and the breakdown.
Yes, yeah, so they're used to doing it. So.
Yes, yeah, I would have thought. That's
Yeah.
Huge.
I guess it was done along the straight road down Wikigo Junction.
Somewhere down there. But that's where they want to be.
I don't think that is quite pretty.
This is not.
You know where?
This is through the village.
Then they. These are, one quote can be incorrect.
I suppose it doesn't matter about where it was, the fact is the data says.
Yeah.
Location Leafield Road.
What can we do to actually get some traffic calming measures?
Yeah.
The traffic, oh, sorry, Mr. Chair, through the chair, traffic calming measures has been sitting on the action sheet under the long-term plan
Yes.
for quite some time. And so I guess the question that's been raised by the Leafield people is, how do we get some more urgent action on this, and where does the delegation sit for that? Does it sit with this board? or does it sit with council? And I actually don't know the answer to that. In regards to
Well-
traffic calming,
Well, maybe, I mean, we've had it here under long-term plan
yeah.
section, if you like,
Mm.
and the long-term plan is coming up. So we should reinforce it to council, the budgeting, you know, through the budgeting process, I mean. I think that is the most sensible form of approach.
Yeah, I wonder if, I mean, they're asking for urgency, and they have waited for some time. So I guess I'm just questioning, is there a more immediate process that could be started to address this?
Mm.
And we might need some advice, from officers, potentially. Because I'm not sure.
Just in the back page of your agenda, it's got the delegations there, so that delegation currently sits with council. But a recommendation can be made to council.
Just asking council to take a look at it.
Yeah, so it would be a recommendation to council. Because you don't have that delegation to write in.
So, Mr. Chair, the community board has neither the delegations or the budgets in respect to local roads or traffic calming, and I think there was reference to NZTA there. I'm assuming that that was perhaps a subsidy coming through from NZTA in relation to the inherited action point. We're looking at in terms of the long-term plan, the only action which the community board could have taken, which the board could also done, was simply advocating at the appropriate moment at the long-term plan for council to include some money and budget in the long-term plan for it. So our role in that is just simply advocacy for the community. But it does raise the question, I mean, as to why, if the data's been sitting there for some time, what happened to it and what was the action? But we have a road safety committee, and I'm not quite sure what that role of that committee is. Is it automatically? Should we not be referring it to the road safety committee?
Yes, I think that's exactly right.
I mean, Joe had asked to a meeting, but I'm not quite sure what we could say other than
Ask council to look at it.
ask council, go to council, so look into it second hand. Quite frankly, I mean, it would be quite appropriate for Joe to be talking to the ward councillors directly about the issue. It's fine, she can come to community board, but the role is simply going to be advocacy through to council and recommendation, etc. and so forth. It's not, we don't have a budget, we don't have a delegation.
No. So we can just, as you say, advocate on their behalf to council and or the road safety committee.
Well,
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I wonder if it is if it is about us seeking some advice from officers in regards to the right pathway, which might be council, it might be road safety. And I think that intent's probably been heard.
But sorry, it doesn't really sit with us. It has to.
No,
go-
that's
but
why I think.
but all we have to do is push it to council.
Support it. We
Yeah.
support
absolutely.
the issue.
Yeah. And push it towards council.
If I could just add, if, as long as we're advising Joe that that's what we're doing, so she sees movement and we don't just do the correct procedure and do it.
Yeah.
But just on the off chance that it might sit there for a period, so Joe can see movement and the only reason that it's being moved is because that's the correct avenue. So as long as we're keeping her up to date with any movement internally.
So do we do that before the long-term plan process?
I think so. I mean, I don't know what the police have been doing, but it's hard to pick up from the data. It does give a total of vehicles, but it makes you wonder whether there's one sort of bad offender there as well. I'm sure Joe would know that. You may quite often get the case where you've got a family with some young teenagers who are really, really bad, and you get all these successive speeds. You get that around the place.
Well, so looking at the very, very noisy graph that's there, you can see that there's sort of two periods. So basically in the morning, in the evening. So what it looks like is people just screaming in off the State Highway 1 and barely slowing down.
It's Leithfield Road, so it's coming off from Belkin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Towards the
Oh,
village.
okay, gotcha. Sorry, because I was, that's correct, that's fine, yeah, that clarifies it, because I wasn't quite sure.
So they're not coming off the state highway, they're coming down the back road.
Back road. It's taken off the report says it's taken off Leithfield Road.
Oh, right.
So Leithfield Road's going past the Nuns
Yeah,
towards the
that's
pub
right.
from Belkin.
Yeah, okay,
So, do we
So
make a resolution or?
can we just sort of make a recommendation? I was thinking something like recommend to council to urgently investigate and implement traffic calming measures around Leithfield Village informed by the NZTA traffic speed survey.
Yeah.
Let's go.
yeah, happy with that,
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so, Pauline,
Oh, look, I'm just thinking we're making resolutions on the fly, and that has got us into issues in the past. I think that the intent around the table is very clear. I'm not sure if it requires a resolution.
no.
I'm just
I
aware that
don't think it's
we're making
It's a
we're making a recommendation without the full suite of information. So I think.
No, I think we've got enough here, you know, there is an issue, it's pretty clear.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean, my suggestion is that, you know, we move it forward.
Mm.
And I think that intent can be heard very clearly. I'm not sure if it's a direct recommendation is all I'm saying. I'm just cautioning that we have gotten ourselves into issues before by making
not-
recommendations on the fly.
Just steps we can take.
Yeah.
It's a
So look,
recommendation.
I'd be happy to include that amount. You know, and for it to be passed on through the governance team. Would that work?
Council,
Yes.
so could you read that out again, sorry,
Okay.
Mary?
Recommend to council to urgently investigate and implement traffic calming measures around Leithfield Village informed by the NZTA traffic speed survey.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. Pauline?
Can I just say by including the word implement, we're making an assumption that there is a budget for that. So I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the intent is clear, the intent is clear, but yeah.
Okay, actually, that will be out.
Okay.
Leave out the end implement. Okay. Right,
You're replacing it with another word?
no, use.
So what are they doing, council?
Well, look, it's Hamish's motion, so if
I
he's
would
comfortable with it, then.
So what was the first word before and
So
implement?
urgently implement traffic
Yeah,
calming.
so it's urgently investigate.
Investigate.
Investigate, okay.
Yeah.
With the addition of implement or no?
I would like to see them do.
Yeah, okay, let's put that in.
So that requires a bit of urgency. Doesn't have.
Calming, okay, traffic calming measures by, sorry, can you follow on?
So traffic calming measures around Leithfield Village. Informed by the NZTA traffic speed survey.
And it's what's included in
Yes.
the agenda.
To look up all the
Yeah.
official names. if you want. So it is called the Leithfield Road Speed Analysis Report.
Okay, we'll just leave that.
Are we assuming that that is NZTA data?
It looks as though it was then. Yeah, on second thought, you know, hearing investigate, I think we should probably delete the and implement. Because we don't have control over that. Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. If we say implement and there is no budget, then we are effectively impacting the whole road economy.
Yeah, Hamish, I'm happy to take that.
That's really.
Well, it's Hamish's motion, so it's up to the mover to make that call.
Kind of lacks the punchiness
Impetus.
without it. Yeah.
Or, sorry, if I could just say, I don't think it does because you've got two council members sitting here that absolutely understand the tone of the conversation, so we can impart that around the table. So.
And if I can speak to that, I attend every Leithfield Community Centre meeting, and I have done for the past 5 years. And so I absolutely understand their concern and their intent and their need for it to move forward. And my intent is for it to move forward, and I've spoken clearly for that, but I couldn't support that resolution the way that it is worded from a councillor point of view. But like I say, it is yours to put. Yeah.
So we'll have to drop the and implement.
We will. Can rest assured.
Okay. All right, thank you, Hamish. We'll put that motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against?
Was it seconded? No.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't either. Yeah, Hamish moved it. Second.
Yeah, read it before. Yeah, we just had to read through that in its entirety.
Yeah.
What do I have? So it would have been picked up on the recording. The Southwood Community Board recommends to council to urgently investigate traffic calming measures around Leithfield Village. And then I've got informed by the NZTA traffic speed analysis report survey. Is that right?
So Hamish.
So that was Hamish. So that was the original. Subsequent.
Yes, okay. Yeah. All right, now, no, it hasn't, I tried to, but. So, we have the motion, we'll just read that again for clarity. That is.
That the Southwood Community Board recommend to council to urgently investigate traffic calming measures around Leithfield Village, informed by the NZTA traffic speed analysis report survey.
Okay, all those in favour, please say aye.
Right.
Against?
I'm to abstain.
Okay.
But I think my intent is clear that I do think that it needs to be moved forward. I'm just not sure that direct is the right way, but definitely agree it needs to be moved.
All right, thank you. Yes.
I was abstaining, so I didn't but.
Oh.
Was he abstained? Okay.
Okay. Right. That's your one, isn't it? So the next one is yes, the next one is Robert Thompson's letter on page 75. And Robert obviously gave the deputation, and when the dog park goes through the reserve management plan adjustment, it will incorporate a full public notification and we could be able to either resubmit this or request. Anything else to say on that, Pauline?
Oh, just Mr. Chair, I'm assuming that we will respond to this, thank him for his information and just impart that information that you've just shared. Yeah, that would be good.
And the next one is yes, from Anthony Craiglington from the Amberley School, just regarding the process around the trees being removed from the school boundary. Just open that for discussion.
Pretty bad. When the council contractor approved, removed a fence to a school to remove a tree whilst the school was happening and didn't actually contact the school or have a triple SP in place, which he said in the email. The principal just got thrown a booklet with their procedural, their hazard register pretty much.
Just remind everybody what triple SP is.
As a site-specific safety plan, and they did not do one. Even though they have site-wise gold, that's to say that they carry it out each time is what that's for, what that states. So, and then it took the council till today to respond to the school. An apology letter.
There's been an apology set up.
Since 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So,
which is pretty poor. Yet council expects everyone to abide by health and safety rules, and we don't follow. Practice what's preached.
Yeah.
Kid got hurt.
Did everybody get that that email? Yeah, just about 3 o'clock.
Today.
So it was forwarded by Natasha at
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, yes. So has everybody got a copy of that? We could read out.
Sorry, I've only just picked that up.
Joseph.
It's 2 hours before the meeting.
Yeah. So look, I'll just read the email from Josie Hemmings, at council to Anthony Craiglington. Hi Anthony, apologies for the delay. I was of the understanding that my manager was going to respond to you. Please find attached a response from Chris Latimer of Elite Trees in regard to the cutting of the trees on the Amberley School boundary. To answer your questions below, and we can refer to them. Apologies, I trusted contractor when advised they would contact Amberley School to confirm dates and health and safety requirements. And second point was Elite Trees have a gold site WISE accreditation, which is a council health and safety requirement. However, we've discussed the H&S failings in this case, and both council and the contractor will ensure nothing of this nature happens again. Heranoa District Council will ensure site-specific safety plans are submitted by the contractor and communicated with the school for any future works along the boundary and or involve the temporary removal of the boundary fence. So that was in response
to my email. To my email I sent, that's what's kicked it all off.
Yes. Yeah.
there was, you'll see there was a response from Chris Latimer in, on the 11th of June, sort of a week or two after it was raised, and yeah, Josie was unfortunate sequence of events was of the understanding that her manager, who no longer works for us, was going to respond. So that was all around. So these yeah.
So I'm correct in saying that the elite trees who obviously didn't follow any health and safety or their own health and safety are the ones commenting down at Leafield to say that the arborist down there doesn't have right health and safety to cut down a tree that they do with the council, yet they can't actually follow their own health and safety.
And this is elite trees that chopped a tree down at the men's shed and without council approval.
And Emberley School, as far as I'm aware, have 3 children who are runners, you know, they're all funded. If they got out on the road, who knows where they'd end up or what would happen to them. And most of them are non-verbal, children like that.
Could you just explain that whole process of the non-runners?
Well, so at, I don't know if you've got them at your school, Pauline, if you have any, but at Broomfield School, we've got 1 child, so our whole school has had to be fenced. Our back field is fenced. Our children can't just go out into our back field. The gate has to be opened. Because if this child gets out into the back field, then he could end up anywhere in Broomfield. And it's the same at Emberley School. And lots of schools in New Zealand, they're all fenced off so that children like this are safe.
Yeah.
So by removing a tent fence, just to cut down the
It wasn't,
tree.
it wasn't a tent fence, it was actual permanent fence.
Yeah. And so these children are funded, no, the whole fence side of things is funded by.
Yeah, the ministry pays for the fencing, school doesn't. But I mean, there's been cases where schools get fences put up and these children can't start school until these fences are put up. All schools get fenced off for their safety. That child could leave 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, I don't know, it's lacking. It's like council getting people in to do this work, but there's no follow-up on their health and safety. Someone should be down there from the council checking everything off before that guy even starts. Like everyone does. We do it with our business. We work with council, just done a big job in Taupo Council. I just get away with stuff.
Yeah, look, thanks through the chair. Look, I just want to acknowledge this letter from Anthony and the health and safety concern and risk that, they've put the school into, and as a teacher, I do understand exactly what that risk is and the health and safety concerns. And I mean, quite right, council has a responsibility to ensure that their contractors do have health and safety in place. And I don't shy away from that. I think it's a really important topic. I'm not sure that it sits with this community board to follow this through. I think it's important that we acknowledge that this has happened and the concerns that we have with this. But I think that the procedures that council needs to take perhaps sit outside this this group, and that does not make this any less concerning, for any of us.
So, Mr. Chair, is there anything, the council has made an apology and indicated that we'll take steps. Anything more we need to do with this?
Yeah, I don't think we can. It is apparent that, the people within council are very aware of this. through all the communication that we've got. That's good.
Not really. It took a email yesterday from me for them to produce an apology to the school. There hasn't been any contact of an investigation to actually the council going to the school.
Who did you send that email?
The South Ward.
Wow.
And I went and talked to Anthony Criglington and he hadn't heard from the council for months.
Right.
No investigation or anything. I know we can't do anything about it, but we can discuss the problems with it.
Yeah.
That's just very concerning.
Yeah.
It's extremely concerning that the council doesn't take it very seriously when there is a breach in the health and safety policy. And they do nothing about it.
One would think they are doing something about it. We don't have anyone here from Ops to
I'd be very surprised if that isn't, isn't the case, that it is being followed through internally through the appropriate executive team and management systems. I'd be very surprised.
Mr. Chair, do you want to get some confirmation back from someone like Dan Harris that has been investigated and steps taken to ensure it doesn't happen again?
Oh, yeah, no, the executive team, we go through all health and safety matters that are raised at every Wednesday meeting, and I'll just make sure it's brought up to ensure that Dan was aware of it. I'm sure he is. I'm sure that, seconds of events. Don't lie. It does show that it can be either ignored or just overlooked. Because there was obviously a query made to the contractor in the early part of June after it was first raised and hadn't been followed up from there. So somebody needs to do the clip. So that's there.
So we just note that in the minutes, Mr. Chair. And then,
all right, thanks very much.
Given that, I just wondered, given that this has come to our board, albeit via AREG, what is the process of just responding to Anthony in regards to what's been discussed here? Just to acknowledge that we recognise his communication and we recognise that health and safety breach, and that we've asked for the executive team to explore it.
But didn't he address this to the amenities?
Well, on this particular letter that we've got in our agenda, it's actually addressed to Sue as part of AREG. It's not actually addressed to us.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess that's what I'm asking is, it's come to us via AREG, rightly so. But we haven't had a direct approach. So that's what I guess I'm questioning, is what's the the follow through from our point of view, just to say, look, we've received this, we've discussed it, we acknowledge, and we've asked for it to go to the executive team.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that appropriate?
What do you think,
Natasha?
I think it would probably need to go back through AREG. So Anthony is a member on AREG.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that was probably the best.
Yeah, I think that we should respond at the very least to AREG and then perhaps through the pathway that it can.
Yeah.
And Jason will follow up the other pathway within council.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. Anyone is removed. Kevin, your page 82, your question.
what about page 81?
Page 81, as I said earlier, has been removed.
Oh, sorry, that's the way.
Okay.
Cool,
And-
I remember you saying page 81, I couldn't.
Yep.
Realise that was the one. Cool, okay, fine, good one. So, Mr. Chair, it's not really correspondence, it's more sort of a notice of motion thing. I won't waste too much time on it. We have the information from Jason. There's one important fact there. We've got it sent to you, and you'll see that the receipts for May, Dan had originally stated they were only 939, which was correct. It was at that stage a year-to-date figure for cash, but the Kiwi Bank seemed to follow on a bit later, and that was 1,200. So it was actually 2,100. So it wasn't quite the financial disaster it was, but there's still a significant gap there between what was received and what should be probably $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, something like that. And June had to come up, that's fine, okay. There's another bit of correspondence there about the air, which we can cover off as well, but I've got that information, and I will talk to the Average Residents Association. They are very, very busy at the moment on things like Rosewood, and said, well, give it a month before you bother us with anything. So I'm not going to be doing that in a great hurry and pushing that. I'm not going to pressure them, but there are a number of options there in terms of revenue, cost reduction, etc., so forth that we can discuss. The question which goes through my mind is, once we've clarified that with them, how do we bring that back to the board? That was the issue.
And I think we all received an email by Natasha about, people using glue.
Now,
That's coming up.
That's coming up. That's coming up. That's another little conversation as well.
Yeah.
So that's all of that one.
Okay.
Chair, thank you.
Right. Southwood working group now. Joe presented and has specifically asked on page 83 regarding the Jellicoe 101 play unit. As the first point, and then on the other page, the inclusive trampoline.
So, I mean, I'm not surprised to get the request. I thought that would happen. With the Jellicoe 101, I mean, there's a whole heap of things we need to look at as part of the end plan. I mean, the blurb sheet said under 25 grand, so I assume it's 20, 25 grand or something like that. I don't know. I mean, the majority of it would come against development contributions. I don't think Jason can comment. With 10% coming back to the amenity rate, but it's the sort of thing we should be looking at in association of all the other demands on development contributions and the amenity rate, etc. So I don't like doing it as one-off at the moment. I prefer that we look at it all together, but to do something intelligent with, we do need to get some idea of the sort of costs we're looking at. And there's a whole heap of things like that. We have the long-term plan issues which ARAG has presented to us in respect to the Amberley Domain, creation of car parking and everything. They've highlighted those as consideration items to consider the 27 long-term plan. We don't know at this stage what they cost, but if we're going to have an intelligent conversation, we need some costs on that. So there's a whole heap of things we have to feed in now and get some costs so that we can consider it. You can't just do this in April next year. So there's a process there which I would raise. I mean, I think we should try and get some prices on it, but we just need to try and initiate a process on these items. Jason might have some thoughts on that.
No, I suppose the key components of the long-term plan, I think Dan has provided the maintenance plans to me. You said you did, I didn't see them myself, so I'm assuming you did. So that forms the basis of your routine costs, and then obviously these key projects that you want to achieve over the next 10 years or however long our next long-term plan actually goes for. And there will be some kind of request from to see what those projects are, so we do get a bit of a chance to actually cost them out, because we've been not very before, but when we did our last long-term plan, we had a lot of projects that were identified, and we put some approximate numbers to them, and they were highly questioned by our auditors through the process, which was fine. So we want to avoid that this time by making sure we have some basis of the costings relating to those projects. So yeah, it is certainly from now to the end of the calendar year. That is going to be the key piece of work we need to all work on. So I don't know whether I've added anything to that discussion, but you are quite right. Let's get the projects identified and the number and reasonable numbers attached to those, so we can then look at the numbers from an overall point of view to see whether it can be achieved within that time frame. With the added issue of rates capping in the background as well. So maybe the greatest project, and everybody in the community is more than happy to pay extra for it, but yeah, we were sort of at a we don't have any discretion on that anymore.
We have
Is that the case now?
That is what the rates capping legislation will provide.
Yes, but it's not in place.
It's not in place, and it does kick in, if it goes through, it will kick in from, I think, 2028. So we theoretically, 2029. So we theoretically could go nuts and have a huge rates increase in the first one. But the minister has said, we'll be watching, so don't do anything stupid.
So Jason, in terms of our loan repayment of our debt, we're at the moment doing, I think, 7.58 increases per annum.
Yes.
So if we're coming into rate caps of 4%, are we going to have a real issue there, or are we hoping to try and balance out with something somewhere else?
That's really trying to balance out with the other rates across the board. So our roading rates, for instance, are the key ones. So if we've got some pressures on the road, and that requires us to increase the rates, and I can think of an issue currently mainly around the fuel prices that are going to push that up. Yeah, there might not be the scope if we have to put all of our 4% increase into roading. That means we can't increase any other rates, which is just, it is the minister overhears me, a nonsensical piece of legislation, because it does not take any account of issues like debt refund and debt repayment, which is an issue we've got right across the council, and a simple increase in the interest rates blows that out of the water. So there is a whole lot of things that has been brought in with that piece of legislation that doesn't. There isn't an absolute logic to it, apart from this is a good vote winning exercise.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox a little bit.
No, it's good information.
In terms of getting a price on this for consideration and the long-term plan, how to go about getting that? Do we just based on, or is it actually point?
Yeah, well, I suppose we want to be able to get all the projects identified, so then we can actually systematically go through, because there'll be similar projects in other areas. So it's no use just going and getting a price for one if we know that this sort of playground is desired in Culverton as well. We've got some ability to go and sort of get some reasonable prices.
Yeah, what's happening at the moment is stage one there, and this is obviously not in stage one. So does anyone know when stage two is going to take place? Do you know that?
No, with playgrounds, there were 3 stages of memory. 1 and 2 got amalgamated, but the carousel and the trampoline got taken out
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is stage 1 and 2 minus a bit, which fitted in with the budget. That left stage 3, which from memory was the Flying Fox, which was pretty much on me very, very nice to have, but how do you fund it sort of category. So you've got 1 and 2 approved to go forward, minus that trampoline, etc.
So do you think the long-term plan is the appropriate?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's cool. Pauline?
Yeah, look, I don't disagree that the long-term plan is an appropriate pathway, but if I could just point out that actually the reason that the group has come to the Southwood Community Board is because of the variation in the plan and the budget, and you know, they were confident that they had the finances you know, approved by Southwood Committee and then by council, and you know, you heard the story about the unfortunate changes, and now the group is positively trying to move forward. You will have also heard Joe say that they have already secured the $10,000 towards the inclusive trampoline from ADRA. So that she's specifically looking there for the $15,000 so that she can then find the additional funding. She did allude to, when I asked the question, that there is money in the DC fund, and I appreciate the 90-10 ratio. Is there any, other than directing to the contestable fund, which is of course a possibility, a good possibility, I think. Is there any methodology where we could look to the DC fund currently to fund that $15,000 that's being requested? Noting that 10%.
Yes, yep. There possibly is, and you know, we do have, certainly in the DC fund, because of, I suppose, delays or the timing of the capital expenditure, we've been added to the fund, so that sort of potentially available. I suppose it's to look at the whole project, what's still to be done in stage 3, and what funding we still have available for that. Bearing in mind that we're not collecting contributions for the Ward Reserve anymore, because we're not budgeting to receive any more. We've collected all that we were needed. The amount that we've received so far during the 25-26 year relates to resource receipts that were subdivision consents that were granted prior to, you know, stopping the eliminating the DC. So there is a little bit more in the kitty than what we would have planned in the long-term plan.
So is it possible for us to receive a report on how that might look? Because I do certainly understand the long-term plan process, but I wonder if there might be another avenue here that the board could consider if we had the information in front of us.
So, Mr. Chair, I mean, Tony raises a valid point in that we have not looked at our development contribution funding and what we're going to be spending them on. So it needs a picture look at it.
Yeah, look, through the chair, I do agree with that. I guess you know, that this is a shortfall in a project that was clearly thought through and consulted on with the previous committee and the council, and you know, exactly what was approved hasn't been delivered, and so I mean, this request is directly related to provision for community and making sure that that playground there, which is looking fantastic, delivers for a wider range of age groups as was intended. So I'd be really keen, whilst I understand the big picture is so important, I'd be really keen to just understand the information and the finances. And then, you know, we could look at that and make a decision as to whether we wait, whether we could do something sooner rather than later.
When you see the report.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to hear what the rest of the room thinks, but I think that would be helpful.
Alex, give you speaking rights.
I just clarify, Josie was doing a report, which she was hoping to get to this meeting about the price of the other playground, yeah, but she obviously hasn't got it done. So basically, we're just waiting. If we can get funding for that, that would be the last of the stages we're doing at the moment, and then we can completely finish the stage we're at now, and then move on to stage 2 in the future, or stage 3. Well, it was going to be 3 stages, then we combined it to 2 stages, and we did the things. But there's about 5 or 6 items that are missing off their playground that was installed.
Potentially,
So, yeah.
if there's a report already underway in regards to this piece of equipment, potentially there might be room within that to include the finances around the trampoline and the cost of this, and then I think we'd have the full suite of information in front of us to consider.
So, Mr. Chair, just Alex, so the report Josie was going to prepare would cover off the Jellicoe 101 plus the other pieces of missing equipment?
No,
just the Jellicoe 101.
Just the Jellicoe, yes. Yep.
Okay. That's coming through. I mean, it'll give us the other thing is that with the trampoline, it's a wee bit hard to get your line around it. So there's $10,000, which I think covers the purchase of the trampoline.
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay, all right. And the remaining 15 grand, that is for installation.
Installation in softball area.
Yeah,
that,
all that
rubber matting will carry on underneath with the trampolines.
Okay, do you think the ADRA would actually be prepared to put a application through the contestable fund for some money on it?
Yeah, we could do. Yeah.
Applications are open.
Yes, they are. So when do they close? End of the month. Sorry?
End of the month.
End of the month, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll talk to Joe and see what we can do.
I think it'll be a little bit appropriate. Okay. So if the report comes back and we can look.
Yeah, look, I think doing a contestable fund application is sensible, but I'd still support, you know, in case that is unsuccessful, and I'm thinking about timing, I'd still support us having the financial information in front of us when we look at the report.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that you will have gathered the intent of that. I don't think there's a need for any sort of formal resolution.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, move on. Thank you. Move on to the next one, page 86, which is regarding
So, Mr. Chair, we under the calculation, like we should have been getting of the number of campers there. I counted 12 one time long term at $20, $940 a week. You came out calculated, might be $16,000 coming a month or something like that, which we were not getting. And there are real issues. The system is designed for honest people, and we now have somebody getting. I'm amazed how the hell they did it. Getting the envelopes out, which then makes it really, really difficult because you go around and say, oh, you haven't paid. Oh, I did, but I understand that they've been stolen out of the box. Yeah. And how do you do that? The other thing is that with the Kiwi Camping internet system, I don't know how easy it is to get data back out of that as to who's paid and who hasn't. So in terms of doing a blitz, it becomes pretty difficult actually. So that's there. But the other thing is that there's been some pretty offensive behaviour down there. The other day there was an assault between 2 of the campers. One guy hit one of the other one, a lady, etc., etc. I don't think she complained to the police. The witness seemed to be reluctant to go to the police. Mentioned about hard drugs being used, etc. And anecdotal story about when the barrier was there was somebody standing next to it with a fob key, letting people through and taking their money. One of the campers down there. So there's a whole heap of the proverbial happening down there. The only other thing is I went down Monday morning and lo and behold, they've all disappeared. So instead of a dozen, there's only 4 left there. There's been this big clean out. I'm not quite sure why. But it really is an issue. And one of the options, of course, is to shut the campground in the winter, which is what some local authorities do, Waitaki do it down the lakes there, because you can potentially actually, you'll save on rubbish, save on toilet, etc. and so forth. There's very options like that, but probably a bit late to do that. It's certainly one of the things we'll talk about and come back on. And you might save $6 grand, for example, if the rubbish collection is linear in terms of that. But there's some real management issues down there. It's a system designed for honest people, and we're not dealing with honest people. And you've got the situation you have people camping on the red zone in Christchurch, camping next to the Kaiapoi boat ramp, and we've had them camping on the Amler domain. So it's a social reflection at the moment that you have a lot of people just camping wherever they can, because they don't have anywhere else to go. Yeah. I was thinking we'll try and engineer the collection boxes a bit more to stop somebody fishing stuff out. I think probably we'll just, now that we had a bit of clean out, see what happens, because our person who's been robbing them may have departed. I'm quite certain, I think probably somebody was observing people putting money in and then taking it out. I don't think they went and took 10 envelopes all at once. I think they went along 10 times and took 10 individual envelopes out, because it would take a hell of a long time to get 10, but you know, what one out a bit easier. So it may have solved itself. My suggestion is we'll try and get some feedback from the property team to what's happening and take it from there. And these are one of the things we'll talk about. There's another lady trying to come back to me. She obviously had some particular concerns she wanted to talk about, discuss that with her. But you know, it's one of the other solutions. You just put it out for tender for 33 years. And the problem's gone, and you just get a dividend. And all these issues are the responsibility of the manager on the site. They would meet the cost, etc. Leafield Beach, which gave us 30 grand this last year. So those are the things to work through.
Once upon a time, it was the other way around.
It was the other way around. But there are issues and options to sort it out. There's going to be advice needed to be sorted by staff on finances to get us work through. So,
thanks for that. Has anybody else got any?
Can we turn it into a dog park and?
No, because
No, it's not, it's a camping ground, you can bring a dog on it. It doesn't need cleaning.
Let's not discuss that. Do not laugh.
Yeah. What are we going to do about the box though? Because if it's not, someone could have been getting gradually more greedy and greedy.
Well, it wasn't an issue. It's only sort of propped up in the last fortnight. There's no, they've been completely greedy and taking everything. Now, if they'd taken half, you might have noticed it. But they took everything, and they left glue marks in the slots. So I think give it a fortnight, and we'll monitor and see what's happened. If nothing's happened, then we need to get them into probably grid into somebody and see if we can engineer it a bit more different.
Needs a plan.
Some little room or whatever.
Something that takes your arm off. You know?
Okay.
Generally ask.
I think we've covered enough. Very sad news, really. Okay, let's move on to the action. Oh, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I've just got a text from Joe saying that we have to request the community board to request a report from Josie do it properly.
Also, Josie had done the report.
Apparently she was doing it, but she got told that we had to get permission from the board.
Okay, all right, so.
Okay.
Sorry,
Can we?
Joe meant to bring it up before, but she rushed and forgot to bring it up.
Okay, so
So,
we want to put some words together for that?
well, can we just do it by way of an action point that we ask probably unit to,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we should probably have something in the minutes though, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
There'll be something in the
for
minutes.
an action from an officer, you
Do
probably
need something
need
in the
a
minutes.
resolution.
I mean,
You worry about that?
Yeah.
So are we after resolution?
Yeah.
All right, so we just, in
Make
respect,
it simple.
in respect to, correspondence from Josie, we, the board requests that, staff provide a estimate of cost for the installation of the Jellicoe 101 system. And, what is it?
110.
110, whatever.
Purchase
110.
and installation.
At the
Eastern Reserve.
Village Green Reserve to allow us to give consideration to possible funding options.
Do you want any information on the development contributions as well or not?
Yes.
Well, we know, well, we sort of know what's in the kitty. I mean, but. So Jason, can you just send out an email to board members and just give them a wee précis of what might be possible source of development?
Yeah, I think certainly if there is a report coming on, there will need to be a financial analysis of that as well, so.
I just wondered if I'm not sure that it's been moved yet, we wanted to include something in regards to the inclusive trampoline.
The trampoline.
Oh, in terms of what? Elaborate more on that.
Well, in regards to the financials, where that could come from, so that's tied up with the request in regards to development contribution availability really, isn't it? And the other 10%.
I think if Jason does what we ask, we get an idea of what is it.
Yeah, there is, I think the key is sort of understanding what stage 3 is and what's involved there and what available funding we've got.
So the issue is available funds.
With all due respect, stage 3 is over here. We're talking about the completion of stage 2, which is
Yeah,
the stuff that wasn't done, but was planned for.
Yeah, and it may be a little bit of robbing figure of now.
So I mean, the crux of that inquiry is what is available in the development contribution fund for funding the Jellicoe, possibly putting it towards the trampoline.
There is a report coming for the next meeting, and I can do the financial analysis.
So we're just keeping it with the Jellicoe 101. Southwood Community Board requests a report on the Jellicoe 101 playground at the Eastern Reserve to complete stage 1. As a stage 2, sorry.
Is it 101 stage?
110, sorry.
Purchase and installation of.
And groundworks.
Yes, actually, because that's where we got into trouble.
That's where the whole troubles
Yeah.
began because they didn't do
Yeah,
groundworks.
to complete-
Right.
just to complete
Installation, purchase,
Purchase, groundwork and installation
Yeah.
of.
groundworks is the major.
installation.
Okay.
Who moved that? Was that Kevin?
I'll see.
Could we hear it?
The Southwood Community Board requests a report on the Jellicoe 110 playground at the Eastern Reserve to complete purchase, groundwork and installation.
Village, Amberley Village
Yeah,
Green.
Village Green instead of it, Eastern Reserve.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, any further comment on that? All in favour, please say aye. Against? Okay, thank you. Okay, that's cool. Thanks for that.
Right, we've got 26 minutes.
26 minutes.
Before standing orders kick us off.
Yeah, let's go to the action sheet. In the dog park.
So
I think we've covered that
yeah,
off.
could we just note that, put a note in there that the today's date report was received, updating the board, and a further report is to be sent to the August 26th council meeting, seeking approval to begin consultation on the changes to the reserves management plan.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Like-
we have action sheet, I think.
yeah, no, I mean, I think sorry, did you hear?
No.
Okay.
Was it just a summary of the discussion? From the dog park?
Yes.
Yes.
It's just we basically got the report from Andrew. And a further report is to go to the August council meeting, second council approval to begin consultation on the changes to the reserves management plan.
Well, no, it's to just run through change to the reserve management plan. And that full consultation comes out as a result.
Well,
yeah, you don't need to.
So
that's the key thing.
Consultation.
Yes, but it will involve a full consultation. Yeah, so you don't need to say it. Okay, that's cool. All right, Amberley Beach Playground, anything? Yeah, need to say any more on what's already been said?
What does that mean?
Oh, well, we just, had that email from.
Should we not just put today's date and say information provided to Kevin on the breakdown of costs, and he will undertake further discussions with the Amberley Beach Residents Association and there.
Okay, and three is still a work in progress. And 4.
And so that one there, again, today's date, you could say that update report has been previously provided to board members, and the matter is now closed.
Sorry, which one are you talking about there?
Number 4, mentioned working group.
Yeah, okay.
I've got a place. I've got a place.
So it's
I've got a place.
So Kevin, you suggested that we just remove this. Is that what you were saying? Sorry?
Well, it can be, you normally mark that it is to be deleted and not all for the next meeting.
I'll just delete it because they've got a semi-long-term accommodation.
Oh, no, that was not that. This related through to, it wasn't the green shed, this was the sites other than the green shed, and we're looking at the north end, the Amberley Beach, and then we came back to the BMX track and got progress and sort out issues around power supply and building height, etc. and so forth. So I sent an email out on that some time ago saying that we'd got it down to 600 metres above ground, etc. and so forth. So I think we just need to say that a previous updated report has been provided, and matters have now been resolved, and items is to be deleted. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thanks. Long-term plan actions, traffic calming measures, obviously, we need to make sure that well, we covered that really off in the summary against Joe's paper. Oops. Right. Let's move into council updates. Talk about that, Brett.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds collaborative.
Through the chair stuff, I'll just quickly run you through council meeting update on the 30th of June. You'll see first to the adoption of the annual plan and setting of rates, but really the big one for us at the moment is public notification of Plan Change 7 for Rosewood. And then it'll go out for public consultation. We expect that, or we are hoping for really, really good response from wider residents and beach residents as to their thoughts with that. So that's not much to say about, I take them as read, not much to say about expenditure delegations, fraud and corruption and members' remuneration, but I will touch on the Waitakere Health Centre building extension. That was cost neutral to council, being funded there. And then there's a real breakdown there of a residents and ratepayers survey.
And the meeting on the 28th of July.
Yeah, I'll speak to that if you like. I'm happy to take this read in to answer any questions that might arise. I think the big one there is the transfer agreement between HTC and Kaikoura Haranui Water Services Limited, which is moving forward. And obviously that transfer agreement has to go to the board and also Kaikoura. And I'll just speak to the simplifying local government, which is in the was alluded to on page 92. So really that council has been fairly busy with initially fireside type meetings and then a full Haranui district survey to every ratepayer in regards to their sentiments moving forward into either the Head Start or backstop simplifying local government process, and if we were going to be joining with another or other councils, who they might be to form a unitary authority, and there was a fairly hefty response in favour of a North Canterbury unitary body. And so last Thursday evening we had an extraordinary meeting, and there was a majority vote to submit a proposal to government, which went through on Sunday, which was the deadline, proposing a North Canterbury unitary authority with Haranui and Waimakariri. And now we await what government will say about that in about a month, okay. Or if they move the goalposts or not, and then where that goes.
Yeah. Okay.
One question.
Kevin first, James. Yeah.
So just a quick question, Mr. Chair, in respect to the Haranui Kaikoura Water Services Limited. If people have a query about stormwater drainage issues, so in an urban area such as, for example, Beefield Beach, or if they have questions, concerns, queries about sewerage, say for example, discharge to land from Newcombs Road by spray irrigation, who do they direct those queries through now? Normally, previously last year, they would have gone to council. Do those queries now go through to the Water Services Limited company?
Will do, yeah, but some of them just go through customer services. They'll direct you through the query through to the company.
But the responsibility for those things is now with the limited company.
Correct. Yeah.
You'll appreciate that we're in a transition period, and so therefore, you know, that in that period, coming straight here to customer service will be ensured that the queries go to the right department. And of course, stormwater in itself is a little bit trickier, isn't it? Because it's
Always one.
yeah, it depends on
Okay.
whether or not it's in the roading corridor or elsewhere.
Okay, James.
Quick question, with this Kaikoura, I don't know, Water Authority, and if we combine with Waimakariri, what becomes of it?
Yeah, good question.
That's a
I thought
great
of that.
question, yeah, you
Is
know,
this, are we flogging a dead horse here?
we're really thankful to government for the order in which they've done things, doing local water done well, followed by simplifying local government. The thing is, it has been established, it has been agreed upon, but of course, there is, and there's always been space there for that to be extended and for other parties to join that CCO and for it to be disestablished. So, you know, those options are there, but yeah, we are really thankful for the order that this has come in.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Right, we're running out of time, guys. I think we'll.
We've got 16 minutes.
move
Any other
on.
questions about the council meeting updates? Do we
Move
have to
on.
move that we accept that information? Yes, the information be accepted, I'll move that.
Yeah, okay. James will second that. We're all in favour of that. Thank you. Let's move on to the delegations, and let's do ARAG, James.
ARAG, so there's a major, well, we would like, at ARAG, they would like. Walking track. I don't know if we wanna, because there's no access for wheelchairs from the top terrace to the bottom terrace.
Right.
So behind the green shed, A&P, there are steps there.
Yes.
We were wondering if that could be turned into a wheelchair so people can drive their scooters around with their dogs down there instead of like a BMX track. Yeah.
Top terrace.
So they can walk their dog right around the corner, and then also a track running along the edge of the hedge area through the BMX and joining up its native area. So you can take mobility scooter with your little dog all the way around on a formed track. And it's just those two things to link them together would be really good.
Okay. So what pages was that? A recommendation in the minutes.
That is and we talked about cameras, as there's a recommendation in
Yes,
cameras.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the one about, I don't think it's actually in here, is the getting a path organised around the.
So I guess we need to.
But that would be, I would like to ask council to sort of do something about it. Look at, well, forming a all-weather track for wheelchairs and mobility scooters right
Just
around.
in that south western corner.
It's the southwestern corner, yeah.
Okay.
Just even that for a start would be much appreciated because that can still link up out onto
So do we?
Lawcox Road.
Just to get something moving on this, do we, I don't know, arrange a meeting with?
It's just actually asking the amenities team whether we can or can't do it.
Instructing officers.
Yeah.
Because there's funds in the walking trails and stuff
we
like
don't
that.
want.
This is part of the government contribution, some for the walking trails.
Yeah.
But you know the steps I'm talking about.
I think we will go forward on the walk track.
Yeah.
Right around all where the
So-
walk track is in decent.
So it's being worked on?
It has been, there's been some backups.
Just trying to get some push on it.
Back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's with Paul. But I will find out, what to Dan and find out who to get in touch with, because Paul's one of the guys with the
Water guy.
Water thing now.
But I'd just like to put it through this board, community board, just
Yeah,
asking.
but remember, we can't instruct,
I know we can't
Yeah,
instruct,
yeah, so-
we're just asking for something. But, and then the other thing with the Amberley reserves, because I know we're out of time, is the current camera system down at the Amberley domain. We got the golf club, the bowling club got robbed.
Yeah.
And none of the cameras picked up anything. One of the cameras has a spider web over it. We have these cameras around Amberley and they can't pick up a number plate of the car. So what's the point of having them?
Yes, what's the best way to get these two things into the?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work out.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether you contact or speak, or I could put them in contact with you, Steve Hart, because I've had 2 break-ins of contractor equipment down at the country estate.
Yeah.
2 relatively large ones announced that have been taken out of containers, which I'm assuming, I think.
That's what happened down there.
So there's real similarities there. These guys were in and out pretty quick, came back about a week and a half later, so I might put them in contact with.
Yeah,
the
silver
police.
car, that's about all we can tell you, but we can't, we would, just the cameras that we have down there are not adequate to spot a number plate. But how do I ask, instruct council to fix the camera system?
A summary of how the system works would be quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pauline.
Yeah, first of all, can I just say, has a report been made to police? Because the cameras that we have throughout the whole
Yeah, of
at our
course, yeah.
intersections, but I'm just thinking, you're right, Chief, a kind of a status report of who maintains and accesses each camera, because I know that in my time around the table, some of them have been community funded, and so and so I'm not sure where maintenance falls, for things like spider webs and let alone, quality and upgrading.
The guy who used to do it has passed away.
Yes, chemicals.
And so I don't know who does it now.
At the moment, the rugby club pays for the cameras, well, doesn't pay for the cameras, powers the cameras and the light at the domain in front of the tin shed. Because when we redid our lights, the council rang up and were like,
so
what are you guys doing? There's no power.
So could we seek a report on how the security camera system in Amberley works these days?
Potentially, who is responsible?
Just all aspects of it.
Yeah, who's responsible for upgrading, maintaining?
Yes.
I know council looks after, IT department looks after it and the privacy issues around it, but it's just more upgrading and maintaining the current camera
Well, a
systems.
lot of it goes directly into the police station.
Yes.
Okay, and some of it is done through here.
Yeah.
Which also feeds, I understand, there's a link somehow between here, but the police do most of the monitoring.
Yeah.
Because I remember putting that, I was involved in putting that. So, Mr. Chair, in respect to say cameras or something like Woodkeco Junction, what responsibility do we have for them? I think they're funded by external sources.
Yes, it was, that's
but
correct.
I've no idea who maintains them, et cetera, and so forth. Do we have any responsibility? James is talking about the ones we got on the domain on our land. Yes, certainly, but do we want to go past outside the domain and get, I mean,
to understand how the whole thing works, probably yes.
Because I've no idea what the maintenance arrangements were for those cameras.
And
Who monitors it? Who checks the work?
It used to be this guy who passed away and now he's not, and I don't know.
And I'm aware that the Woodkeco one that you're talking about, they do require internet connection, so I know that the owners were paying for that, so there's all sorts of intricacies.
So do we seek a report on from staff on how the current security
cameras are maintained
system works, like including
maintenance,
just works, maintenance,
upgrading,
installation, cost, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it might, the office knows it might need to be in PE just to protect the security of the
Could be
district.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd like to see a report.
Okay. So do we need to move that or?
I'll move that.
Okay, James. Yeah, Brett. Okay, all in favour, please say aye. Okay, that's cool, thank you. And we didn't really get much.
On the track, I'd like to move that the council report back on progress of tracks works around the main. No.
Okay.
Because we want to get that piece of money actually spent, and then we can bring in a new development contribution regime, like allow us to do something like the and the walkway track.
Okay, so yeah. Did you capture that report on?
We've got money there.
Yeah.
So the finance team, so you're.
No, I'm requesting the amenities team to do a report on the upgrading the walking and all with a walking track around the domain.
Okay, so that is.
For disabled wheelchair access.
James. Okay. All in favour? Aye. Thanks. Carry. Right. 5 minutes. Right. So that's the key things out of the arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. We need to prioritise, don't we? Nothing critical from your portfolio.
Not really. The only one, sort of just a couple of things on ADRA interest on that drive site. Just with the idea of hey, this could be a community hub place there, expanded Molly's Place and potentially the men's shed on that site. So just a concept design work that. Anything else?
Who are those talks taking place?
So Alex is talking with Mike Innes.
Oh, yes.
The men's shed, so I went down there a month ago, and some a tree stump and a big covered mud, and they were sort of had just had their wrists slapped for taking this tree down. So there's a little bit of an issue with lines of communication where the men's shed had thought that they've been told that the beach residents were the ones to talk to about the street taken down, and unfortunately it was actually council. So council officers anyway have sort of been in touch with the men's shed, and it's all resolved and smoothly now. So,
yeah, no, good with that result. And okay, anything to report?
No, because they had an AGM, I didn't have to go to it, so I haven't had any minutes or anything.
Okay, but there's feedback regarding the minutes from that group.
For any of anything, I have.
Yeah, look, I can speak to that, thank you. Through the chair, yeah, I did attend the last meeting and also the AGM, and they received a request for their minutes to come via the process. Their take is, actually they're a fairly self-sufficient group, and they feel that they're well represented between having, you know, me as a councillor and also a Southwood Community Board member attending. So they're comfortable with that, and their take was, if we need something, we're quite happy to come to you, but they would relish the opportunity, perhaps once every 3 or 4 months, to be invited to just, you know, do a quick report to the board. So their preference is not to provide their minutes, but rather to keep it more in that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a fair enough decision.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So, yeah, no, that's.
And I think they were going to send a letter to that effect, but we may not.
Oh, they don't need to really. Well,
They just felt that they might,
can.
since we, yeah. They're polite people.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything relating to their portfolios, James?
I just, the AREG thing, I was just reading the minutes that but that I said about where the track, it was actually in the previous ARAG mounts, but we didn't have a meeting for 2 months, and there's been 2 ARAG meetings.
Yeah.
In the 2 months since we have been
Right.
out.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
Done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, he just good.
That's it.
I don't know if you had anything to update from,
Yeah. No, I think we've covered most of his portfolio
Probably from
actually.
Eagle Beach and-
So look, thank you very much. We'll close the meeting and thank you very much for your attendance. And I was hoping that it would be before 10 o'clock. But we did cover several ground, so thank you very much. Really appreciate it.